Good evening. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. Today is September the 21st, 2021. Our thought for today, the supreme quality for leadership is conclusively integrity. Without it, no real success is possible, no matter if it is on a section game or a football field, in the army or in an office. That's Dwight D. Eisenhower. We want to officially call this meeting to order tonight. We have a special treat tonight with us tonight. Who's going to be doing a pledge? We have our Covington Girl Scouts pack here tonight. I think they're out there in the hall. Troop number 1824. They're going to be doing our pledge tonight, and we're going to hear from Miss Kirkland tonight. But before we get going, we're going to ask if Commissioner Mason, if he would, to lead us in our prayer tonight, if you would, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us all bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us back to this place one more time. We thank you for all that you've done and all that you're about to do. We come giving you praise and giving you glory and giving you honor. And God, as we move forward to do the business of Newton County, we ask that you would bring a level of unity, love, understanding, compassion, God, so that we may continue to help lead this community so that it can be all that you have called it to be. God, we even ask right now that you continue to bless us in a mighty way. Continue to give us strategies and things that we need to help elevate Newton County to the next level. God, we thank you. We bless you. We give you all the kingdom, honor, and glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. If you would bring them in. First, we want to thank you guys for being here tonight. Um, the dean leader is Miss Amanda Kirkland, and she is no stranger to this community. Her and her son Harrison, they have did great things here in this community. So, guys, we are welcome. We welcome you here tonight, and please lead us in our pledge. And after you lead us in our pledge, you can come on up and address the board tonight. Yeah. You want to take a quick second and tell us about your troop, please?
Thank you, Chairman Baines and the board. We're so grateful to be here. We are part of PAC 1824. It's a local family PAC, and this is the Girl Den. And we're grateful to be Scouts. And tonight we're attending our meeting to fulfill some requirements to learn about local government in our community. So if you don't mind, we would like to stay for a few minutes and sit in the back so we can watch a little bit about how this goes. Because as you can see, the young Scouts behind me are interested in how local government works, and they want to learn about leadership and about communication.
Thank you so much. We have a token of appreciation for you guys. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to a couple of people. Ladies, this is our county manager, Mr. Lloyd Kerr. If you would wave your hand, please. Our District 1 Commissioner, Mr. Stan Edwards. Our District 2 Commissioner, Mr. Damon Mason. This is our Deputy Clerk, Miss Susan Nolly. I am Chairman Baines. This is our County Attorney, Ms. Megan Martin. This is our District 3 Commissioner, Ms. Elena Sanders. Our District 4 Commissioner, Mr. J.C. Henderson. And our District 5 Commissioner, Mr. Ronnie Cowell. All that you do, we know you work hard in this community. This ain't the first time we've seen your efforts, so we want to keep being a cheerleader for you guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you all. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for all that you do.
Thank you. Yep. Okay. Let's get a picture. Oh, come up here? Where'd you go? Oh. Oh, stop up here? Do you want us to come in front? Yeah. Let's go around the whole front.
Next on the agenda, we have the agenda adoption. I seek a motion of approval, please. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is is all the items at the last meeting that, are they on this agenda so they might be discussed this evening? You know, we stopped the meeting because we didn't have an attorney, so are they on this agenda, those items?
All the items are on this agenda that was on the last agenda.
Okay, there's one missing.
You have anything, Commissioner?
Okay, yes, there was a motion that was made, by myself, I think, second by Commissioner Sanders. And at that particular time, it was supported by Commissioner Mason. And I guess we were gonna have the discussion or add it to the agenda that while we were looking for an attorney, that we still was gonna be looking at attorneys.
Yeah, those two items.
So, where are they at? I mean, where is that?
That item will be addressed tonight in the executive session, as long as also the item that Commissioner Calvin added to the agenda last board meeting.
Well, one quick question.
Yes, sir.
I'm asked. Why is it being addressed in executive session?
It's personnel matter.
Well, I think it did. Excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all. I was thinking at this point that we are still represented by Gerard and Davis.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we are. So that's not personnel. That's this is. Yeah.
It was motioned by Commissioner Mason. Can I get a second, please? We're adopting the agenda. It was second by Commissioner Edwards. All in favor? All opposed? It passes 3-2. Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is citizen comments. This is an opportunity that will allow citizens to make comments about agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. If you would, please come now and state your name and your address for the record, please. Agenda topics only. Thank you. Next, we have the chairman's report tonight. I'm excited tonight to have a representative from the DCA here tonight. Ms. Cynthia, if you would, please come on up tonight. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I know you have a ton of information that you want to share with the citizens here, the Board of Commissioners. Again, thank you so much for accepting the invite. Um, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Chairman Baines. On behalf of the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, Commissioner Christopher Nunn, I am pleased to be here on this evening to give as much information as I can in a short period of time regarding the Georgia Rental Assistance Program. I'm sure that many of you have heard a little something about it, maybe even a lot about it. But as you may be aware, the first of this year, Georgia initially received about $710 million for this program. Of that $710 million, $552 million came into our office at DCA, which we now refer to as the Emergency Rental Assistance number 1. There are 12 jurisdictions in the state of Georgia that received their own allocation. And up until recently, our office was not administering this funding in those areas. Just to name a few of those counties: Henry County, Hall County, Cherokee County, Chatham, DeKalb, Cobb, Fulton, and a few others. Probably back in May, we received a second allocation of this rental assistance money. The first allocation, as I mentioned, was $552 million. The second allocation was $437 million, which we now refer to as ERA 2. There was really about one word in the regulations that separated the eligibility in ERA 1 and ERA 2, which was ERA 1, specifically the eligibility criteria referenced individuals who were affected by the pandemic. And ERA 2, pretty much the one word that changed was individuals who have been affected during the pandemic. And so this funding is intended to provide relief to landlords and tenants who have fallen behind on their rent and utility payments during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so what we initially did the first of this year, we created an online application for individuals to apply and to receive this funding for that past due rent and utilities. I will say that it does take both parties, that being the landlord and the tenant, to come into that portal to do their part of the application in order to arrive at a completed application. Now, just a little bit about what services are eligible with that funding. Right now, we are paying up to 18 months of rental assistance and past due utility assistance. We do not pay for any arrears on rents unless we don't pay any utilities unless there is some arrearage that is associated with that application. Just recently, with the ERA 2 funding, we are now beginning to receive and accept applications that are coming in for utility assistance only, with no arrears needed. As I said, up to 18 months, up until just recently, we did have a cap that was associated with each application. In March, we had a cap amount of $15,000 per application. About 4 weeks ago, the commissioner decided that we were removing the cap. And so now there is no cap amount that is associated with each application, as long as the application does not exceed the 18 months. And so how this process starts is, again, I mentioned the portal. Again, it takes both the tenant and the landlord to go into the portal and to complete their portions of the applications. And once those applications come in, the application process starts with processors who are reviewing those applications. And then we move those applications on to underwriters who then primarily deal with the landlord side of that application. Our intent is really to send this money to the landlord. That is our intent, to send the money to the landlord. However, there are instances where landlords are not willing to cooperate with the program. And when that happens, we are now sending the money to the tenant in hopes that the tenant will then do the right thing and pay the landlord. Who is eligible? An applicant must meet all of these eligibility criteria in order to be eligible for the program. A individual or household cannot be earning no more than 80% of the current area median income, what we preferably could refer to as the AMI, for the county in which they live. Also, the applicant has to show a hardship, what the hardship is that they have experienced during this pandemic. So that hardship can be either that they qualified for unemployment, that they had a loss or reduction in their income, or that they experienced some other significant financial hardship. The third thing in terms of eligibility criteria is that they must be able to demonstrate a risk of experiencing homelessness or some type of housing instability. And this can be proved by them sending us a copy of an eviction notice, a past due rent notice, or a past due utility notice. A couple of policy changes that I will mention that we have made since the beginning of this program. One is, if you've been following this program, you may know that initially we were not accepting applications from individuals who were residing in other federally funded assisted units of housing, such as the Housing Choice Voucher or the Section 8 program, public housing or other project-based Section 8 programs. Back in May, that regulation was amended. And so those individuals are now able to apply for the program, and we are only paying the tenant portion that is delinquent for those individuals that reside in those type of housing units. Also, I mentioned that up until just recently, we were only staying within our 147 counties across the Georgia. That has been lifted, and now we are pushing this money out statewide. And then also, the last thing is that we removed the cap. The $15,000 cap is no longer, and we will pay that application at whatever the amount is, as long as it does not exceed the 15 months. The other thing that I will mention that sometimes we get a lot of questions about, and that is extended stay hotels. Is that an eligible rental placement? And yes, it is. It is an eligible placement that we do pay, as long as there is the tenant and the owner of that hotel or the hotel manager is able to demonstrate that there is a landlord-tenant relationship there, some type of rental agreement that is associated with that extended stay hotel. I will encourage you all to encourage those who are making applications to this program to please visit the Georgia Rental Assistance at .georgia.gov, where all of the information is housed about this program. And please encourage people to read the documents that are required in order to complete an application. I have them listed here tonight, but for sake of time, I don't want to go through the list. All of the documents are on the website, on the tenant side that are needed, and also the documents that are needed on the landlord side of the application. And I will say that is one of the things that causes the great delay in us processing these applications, is that in many cases we do not receive initially all of the documents that are required to arrive at a completed application. The last few things that I will mention about the funding is that as of today in Georgia, our office we have had about 21,000 applicants to apply for this program. Now, when we say completed, that means that they have attached all of the documents, they have e-signed the application, and it is ready to be processed. However, there are probably in excess of 85 to 90,000 applications in our portal right now at different levels of completion that's trying to make it into that gate with this 21,000 applications that are complete that we're currently working on. As of today, we have paid right at 4,000 applications for a total of about $24.2 million have gone out the door. As of today, when I looked at our dashboard right now, We have about $1.6 million that are scheduled for payment that are waiting to be pushed out to the tenants across Georgia. Now in Newton County, I looked at the stats for Newton County. In Newton County, we have had a total of 516 tenants to apply for this funding. We have paid 150 applications in Newton County for a total of $1.2 million. And right now, as of today, we had 40, some additional applications that are pending payment that are scheduled at about another $46,000 to come out to tenants in Newton County. Now, someone may be saying, well, what has happened with the other 366 applications that you all received from Newton County? Couple of things. Either those individuals were not eligible for the program, we had to deny those applications, perhaps they withdrew their applications, or perhaps they're somewhere in one of those different intervals of incomplete trying to make it to this gate of 21,000 applications that we're currently working on. Currently in Newton County, I looked and we have one partner agency that has signed an agreement with us in this area to be a partner agency that is assisting tenants and our landlords with the completed application. That agency is Disability Link. Now, since I've arrived today, I learned that there are some other agencies in this county, Family Connections, the Salvation Army, that is also involved in helping folks to get these applications completed. But one of the things that I would say that you can do to help us immensely in terms of these applications, and that is to encourage partner agencies or agencies to become a partner agency with us. Those partner agencies, in their agreements, for every completed application that they help a tenant complete, we are paying $200 fee to that partner agency for the work that they have done. And so we are definitely needing more partner agencies. I have a team of ladies that are downstairs that we've set up a table today. We have the flyer that I picked up here on the table in the room. So we are downstairs tonight to answer any individual questions that you may have about the program, how to apply, what to do. And so stop by to see us on your way out. We'll be here as long as we can tonight to answer any questions that you may have. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much. We greatly appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, if anybody here that needs to see Miss Cynthia, please don't hesitate to go downstairs. They have a table set up, and they are answering questions and giving people directions, so please do that. Next, we have the county manager report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a few slides tonight we want to show you. First one is our employee population. Over the last month, we had 13 new hires and 11 separations. Our permits for new homes have slowed, but they are continuing. And during this past month, we've had 43 actual permits issued for new home construction. Next slide, please, is the work orders that we've had by district, and you'll see what those are. You can see those. I also see the LMIG, which is our paving program for this year, and you can see those streets and the districts that they were included in. And then also we had a project that was left over from the 2020 LMIG, and then we have some other projects that we've been working on, continuing to work on the sidewalk repair in Riverwalk Farms, and we've done some work over at Nelson Heights as well as on Pitts Chapel Road down near New Bern. Next thing we wanted to do is to go into our COVID snapshot. That's something that everyone is extremely interested in. And for the total number of cases that we've had, you can see it's 15,000. Total number of deaths in the county has reached right at 300. The number of cases is continuing to rise. However, we are still getting additional people who are, there are continuing increases slight, but there are increases in those people who are getting vaccinated. So we are at 42% having just at least one dose, and then 36.9 have been fully vaccinated. And those numbers are up somewhat over our last over the last 2 weeks as people continue to get vaccinated. The next thing that I wanted to bring you back to was, and let the public know, these were the scheduled dates for the public master plan meetings for our Parks and Recreation Department. If you don't know what district you're in, that's fine. Anybody can attend any of these districts. We did want to try to hold a meeting in each one of the districts so that it was convenient for each of the people, in each of those districts. But if you can't make it on the night for your district, or if you don't, we'll also be attaching a map to this that shows what district, the district map, so that everybody knows what district they're in. But if you can't make it, if you're in District 1 and you can't make it October 18th and you want to go to the District 5 meeting on the 21st, you're certainly welcome to do that. And we'd like to encourage everyone who can, who has an interest in our parks departments and the programming that we have there, and what want to have a say in the future of what we may offer, please attend those meetings so that you can have your to give your input and have your voice heard. Next slide is our bicentennial cleanup for District 4. There was about 80 volunteers who came and helped to clean up in District 4, and you can see a lot of the folks there, and some of the folks picking up some trash along the Cricket Frog Trail there. Next, I want to remind everybody about our Bicentennial Legacy Brick Program. We are celebrating our 200 years in existence in Newton County, and you can buy a commemorative brick for $75 that will go into the park that is located adjacent to the administration building. There's some benches, and there's a nice brick that has a lot of nice brick pavers there. And we will be expanding the walkways with brick over there. So if you wanted to commemorate a loved one or your business or you personally, we welcome all of that. And please, we've got the contact information there. All of this information, of course, is on our website, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. Also, as a part of our bicentennial celebration, we are asking people to make nominations for the County Bicentennial Awards, and all of that information. Deadline's coming up here pretty soon, but all of the instructions and the various award categories are listed also on our webpage. And with that, I'm going to close. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Also, today is our county manager's, Mr. Kerr's birthday today. We want to say happy birthday to you today.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Listen, guys, it's 7:30. It's time for our zoning tonight. Ms. Judy, if you would, please come on up.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight we're going to begin with a little bit of old business from our last meeting, and that is Modification Mod 21-0002. This property is located at 3185 and 3195 Highway 212. The request is to modify the conditions of zoning to remove condition number 4, which prohibited outside storage, and to allow for outside storage on the property. The existing zoning is CH Highway Commercial. It is located in District 1 in the Yellow River watershed. It is approximately 2.17 acres, and the petitioner is Mr. Jamie Humphreys. The purpose: On March 16th, 1993, Tony Allen sought a rezoning to develop 10.5 acres of property located on the southwestern side of Georgia Highway 212, approximately 800 feet south of the intersection with Georgia Highway 162. The request was to be zoned CG, General Commercial, for the purpose of building and operating a daycare center and further development. Approval was granted with conditions of zoning, and part of the property was developed and part of the property remains undeveloped to this day. The applicant is proposing to modify the conditions of zoning to remove condition number 4, again for prohibiting outside storage, and to allow for outside storage on the property in order to establish a new Tire 1 auto facility. As you can see, the two properties are identified with the red circles. This is the property under request tonight. You can see that the zoning map does show that it is CH, Highway Commercial. The watershed shows that we're in the Yellow River watershed and in District 1. This is a survey map of the 10 acres that was brought in for the original rezoning. And this is a proposed site plan that the applicant has given that would be potentially the new Tire 1 auto facility. And this also gives you a little more of an understanding of where this is located. Highway 162 crosses with Highway 212. The conclusion. Should the Board of Commissioners recommend approval of the modification to remove condition number 4 of the 1993 rezoning petition, staff recommends the following condition be applied to the property. Recommended conditions. Should this modification petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated condition. Where this condition conflicts with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, this condition shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards and regulations. A, all other conditions of the original rezoning dated May 4th, 1993, approved by the Board of Commissioners shall apply. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Judy, quick question for me.
Yes, sir.
Didn't we open this up last time? We need to open it up again tonight?
We did have a public hearing last time. That is up to the board if they want to allow the applicant to come back up and present their side. If you do, then we would need to open it up for both those for and those in opposition.
Okay. Any questions, Commissioner? Well, we will open it up for a public hearing since we advertised it for it. Okay.
Yes.
We're going to open it up at this time for the applicant and those in favor. You may come at this time. You have 10 minutes to do so. The applicant and those in favor. Guys, we're going to ask if you would please turn your cell phones off tonight. Turn them on vibrate, please. The applicant and those in favor. You have 10 minutes to do so. Please state your name and your address for the record,
Hey,
please.
Jamie Humphreys. I'm the owner of Tire 1. We met 2 weeks ago. So I just wanted you guys to let you know that that I'm here. We look forward to what the future holds with Tire 1. So I hope the vote goes in our favor tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else want to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else want to speak in favor tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. You also have 10 minutes. If you would, please come and state your name for the record, please. You may come at this time. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. I think this is District 1, Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time I'd like to make a motion to approve case number MOD 21-0002 with recommended staff conditions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to kind of apologize to you. It was a meeting that we had 2 weeks ago, unlike any meeting that I ever had attended in my life, and it's where we didn't have legal representation. and it's most people do know without legal representation, we end up with a lot of suits. And I don't want that on our taxpayers in Newton County having to pay extra money for maybe a little simple mistake that we could have made at that particular meeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0. Ms. Judy.
The next series will begin our new business. And y'all, I apologize, our desk area is challenged here. The next case before you this evening is REZ 21-000006. This property is located at 51 Cedar Road. It is a total of 17 acres. It is currently zoned R2 Single Family Residential. And the proposed zoning, it's under rezoning request. The proposed zoning is to go to AR, Agricultural Residential. It is in the South River watershed, and it is in District 2. The applicant's intent. The intent is to rezone a 17-acre parcel from R2 Single Family Residential to AR, Agricultural Residential, for the purpose of being able to have livestock and livestock quarters on the property. There is a site plan, and the analysis for the site plan is based on the site plan submitted on July 19, 2021 by the applicant to the Department of Development Services. Staff offers the following considerations. Land use and density. The applicant is proposing to be rezoned from R2 to AR for the purpose of being able to have livestock and livestock in quarters. In the R2 single-family residential zoning district, livestock is not allowed. In order to be able to have livestock, such as cows or a horse or chickens, you would have to be in one of our agricultural zonings. Livestock and livestock enclosures. So there are regulations in our ordinance as to where you can place livestock enclosures. And this section here covers it. And it says, A, no livestock quarters can be located any closer than 100 feet from any property line. There also has to be adequate off-street parking, shall be provided for any livestock trailers, recreational vehicles, or etc. associated with the proposed use in addition to the minimum requirements of the zoning ordinance. And number C, when such a use is located in zoning districts other than agricultural, the maximum number of large hooved livestock, including but not limited to cows, hogs, horses, and llamas, and very large aviary species such as emus, these shall be no more than 2 animals per fenced-in acre. Conclusion. Given the fact that the property is 17 acres and in close proximity of similar existing agricultural uses, coupled with the applicant's proposed use of land, staff is of the opinion that the rezoning may be appropriate for this site. Recommended conditions. If the petition is approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved AR, Agricultural Residential, conditional subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A, must maintain compliance with Section 510-380 of the Newton County Zoning Ordinance. And those were the regulations that we just went over, which would make sure that all pens are at least 100 feet from any property line. And also, because this request is to go to AR, Agricultural Residential, they would be limited to no more than 2 hooved animals per fenced-in acre. So with all 17 acres, if all 17 acres were under a fence, were completely fenced in, they could have no more than a total of 34 animals totaled on the property that would qualify as a hooved animal. Then we have our maps. This is a location showing that the address is off of Cedar Road, but it also has road frontage on Georgia Highway 81 South and a little portion of Oak Hill Road, a little spur that comes off to the south side of the highway there. And it also shows the existing zoning being R2, which is single-family residential. And this is a survey map of the property. And at the bottom here, you can see where the applicant has already pulled a building permit for a new primary home. So they're already constructing their home. They just cannot put any hooved animals or livestock on the property unless this petition is approved.
Thank you, ma'am. We're gonna open it up now for our public hearing. The applicant and those in favor, you may come at this time. You have 10 minutes to speak tonight. The applicant and those in favor. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
How are you doing this evening? My name is Mike Stevens. And the address we're discussing is 51 Cedar Road. First of all, let me just say thank you very much for allowing me to come to you today and for this evening and sort of state my case. For us, we purchased a property back in March. We're wanting to make it our family piece of property. We're not looking for a big production or anything along those kind of lines. We've already got some chickens and ducks at our current residence that, based off of current zoning, we'd be allowed to have. But we'd like to be able to possibly have a cow or something along those kind of lines. 34 animals is way past what I'm interested in. But just like I said, just something for us to be able to, make it our own little tiny family farm and grow it into something one day for just me, my wife, and our kids and so on. So there's not a whole lot really for me to add. I just ask that you please take that into consideration. And that's all I got. Have a blessed evening. You have any questions for me?
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. If you would like to oppose tonight, you could come at this time. You have 10 minutes to do so. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone wants to oppose? Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I able to ask questions prior to?
Ms. Judy, if you would, please.
Thank you, Ms. Judy. Do we actually send out notification to all the neighbors around this area in regards to this particular zoning prior to today?
By the zoning procedures law, we're required to send a legal notification to any property that actually adjoins this property. And yes, sir, we did send out the legal notifications. We also placed the ad in the newspaper, as well as a sign has been posted on the road frontages that would have allowed the neighborhood to be aware of what was going on.
Okay, great. And then also, did this actually go before the Zoning Board of Appeals or
It
Planning
did.
Commission? And
Yes, sir.
If
It
so,
did.
what did they say?
They recommended approval. I believe that meeting was a 4-0, but it was a recommended approval.
Okay. I think that was all I had. Also, I did want to ask too, I know Mr. Stevens mentioned 34 animals is way more than he wanted. Do we know exactly how many that he's expecting and what those animals are specifically?
Please, if you will.
animal wise, I mean, like I said, we have some chickens and ducks. My wife would like to possibly have a cow or something on those kind of lines, maybe two. But outside of that, I mean, it didn't really seem like a whole lot that, we're wanting past that, I guess. I mean, I guess if we're living there for 50 years, I don't, know what happens over time, but, maybe she gets a pig or something, I don't know.
So are these just as animals, or are you going to actually be utilizing them to grow and have more chickens or have more ducks, more cows where it's expanding?
Yeah, we're not looking for a production. It's a
Okay.
family thing. I'm not trying to make this a business farm kind of thing. We're putting our house there. We're already in the process of doing that. Just like I said, for us, it's just going to be our home. It's not going to be any form of a business. I mean, we'll have chickens and eggs and ducks and whatever the case may be and that stuff, but we'll all make sure everything's is pinned in and within the right regulations that you guys have approved.
Okay. And I did have the other question, because I did, of course, go by the area to kind of see where it was located, and I did see some leveling out. So I guess that's the home.
Correct. Yes,
for the
sir.
building permit of the land that's actually being leveled out now.
Yes, that's correct. So when you pull into the driveway on the left side,
Correct.
It sort of goes down a little bit on the
Yes.
left. There's a little clearing area where we have some containers.
Yes.
That'll
Yes,
be
I
where
saw
we
those.
store all our family stuff until the house is complete. Then off to the side, there's a little. We submitted to have a temporary building permit for like an RV. That way we can live there while the house is being built. This way we'll be able to sell our house, get the proceeds, and then do what we need to do to make it, to build the actual primary residence for me and my family.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Can you stay for 1 second, please?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Sanders. I think mine is more so for Judy, but just in case you may want to answer it. And you stated there's no other residential in his proximity, or how many homes are in the area? Is it?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
On Cedar Road, it is a very older type. It's not a like a platted subdivision. Now, part of his property does back up to a platted subdivision, but it does not where his home is located, and there is a creek that runs along there, so there would be a buffer against that residential neighborhood. Just because of the creek, he wouldn't be able to put certain structures. And also going back to that section in the ordinance, which is a condition, any type of structure that would be for housing or keeping animals would have to be a minimum of 100 feet off of the property line. But in this particular area, and I didn't zoom out far enough, on the other, Ridge Road and Cedar Road kind of connect together, and there are some existing cow farms actually off of Ridge Road that have been there since before our zoning ordinance. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm fine with your sincerity, what you want to do and everything. My concern, because I do real estate work, is what happens if you sell the property to somebody else and he wants to go into the 32, 34, he wants to run a barbecue place. And that's going to be his supply place. Does the zoning prohibit anybody from creating a pig farm out there in the future if and in fact he sold the property?
So if they no longer own the property and we granted the zoning and we didn't restrict it to a certain threshold of animals?
Yes.
There are certain requirements, such if someone's wanting to do a chicken farm or a chicken hatchery, you have to have at least 38 acres and you have to be zoned A, not AR. So there are a lot more relief in the A zoning than there is in AR. I'm certainly not in the animal business, but I don't know that 34 animals would necessarily provide production. But if you would like to entertain adding an additional condition, we could certainly entertain to be a maximum of no more than whatever that number is, animals. And I would ask the board to also consider, while he's stating 1 or 2, to consider a reasonable number if in the future they decided to add a horse or another animal to the, but we could certainly offer an amended condition that would say no more than animals to be allowed on the property.
So I guess my question is it possible this can be turned into some sort of production for maybe a particular type animal, like a swine, pigs? I don't want to be on the record voting for a pig farm in Newton County. Okay, I'll just be honest with you. Not gonna do that.
I don't want a pig.
Okay, I know you don't. I'm worried about the next guy that buys your property.
You could also add a condition that would prohibit any commercial farming of the property.
Okay.
So you could add a condition that would limit the number, and also a condition that would prohibit commercial farming. And should any time in the future someone come back with a solid plan, they could ask to modify conditions that you've placed on it tonight, but this gives you assurance that it would not go in without some type of petition having to come back in front of the board in a public
Well, this is not
hearing.
in my district. This is in Commissioner Mason's district. I would implore you to consider this. That's why I brought this subject out, because
Thank you.
down the road, you don't know what might happen.
Right.
And again, I'm believing, your sincerity and everything's great. I mean, I grew up on a farm myself, but I know what pigs are like too. So, well, I don't want to do that. I just want, we just want down the road, if somebody buys your property, not to take advantage of a loophole that they see to take advantage of that area out there to the adverse impact of the surrounding neighborhood.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Mason.
That what Commissioner Cowan is saying, that's exactly the reason why I asked how many animals and what those animals were specifically, because I don't want that. So that's exactly why I asked that question. So I would like to add that condition that there would be no commercial farming and that we limit the number of animals. And I don't even know if we go as far as what type, or if we just are able to only limit how many.
Again, you have the power to put the condition on how you would like for it to read. If you chose to limit a type, again, I would ask you to fill in what that number is, because we would need to know that number if it's not based off of the zoning ordinance, if we ever had to go and make sure they were in compliance.
Sure, and I think maybe that's why I wanted to know exactly what animals you have. I know you said you had chickens, ducks.
Right now, we have chickens and ducks at our current property.
Okay.
That, we'll bring over. My wife was wanting to have a cow or two. 17 acres, maybe she wants a horse or something.
Okay.
Like I said, for us, it's just a family thing. We're trying to make it a production. I have to go to work every day. I don't really want to come home and deal with a whole levy on the farm.
Right.
Of animals, and I have to kill myself there and, at the house every day. So for us, it's just a family thing. If you need to limit it to, a certain amount, I get it. I mean, it is what it is. It's not a problem.
Do you know about how many chickens you have now?
Right now, we have, I want to say there's about 20 chickens, roughly.
And how many ducks do you have?
There are 2 ducks currently. I mean, we'll have more chickens and ducks than we probably will anything. And, this is more for the hoofed animals aspect of it, for, being able to have a cow or two, with the 17 acres.
Ms. Judy, do you know the number with what is considered to be commercial farming? So that'll kind of cut all of that out.
I can't give you a specific number for commercial farming. I can tell you that we limit on AR the number of hooved animals.
Okay.
But we do not limit the other types if they had a rabbit or if they had chickens. We do not limit those. You just can't go into full production like a chicken hatchery or a chicken chicken house, thank you, unless you have 38 acres. And there's other requirements. We identify that. So I don't know what that threshold would be. But again, we only limit how far off the property line that the structures have to be placed in any of our other AR zonings.
Do we know what the limit is on the hooved animals?
It would be two per
Two per
fenced-in
fenced-in.
acre. So if they only fenced in 2 acres, they could only have 4 animals. If they fenced in 5 acres, you could have, again, it's based off of fencing. It's not based off of how large the property is.
So do we know what the projected fencing is going to be? Have we projected that or know what it's going to be at this point?
No, sir, but he has a total of 17 acres that he could potentially fence in. So that's why I gave you the number of 34 at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
Go ahead. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, who's going to police this piece of property and say, well, hey, say if he were to sell it, and who's going to come back and say, well, I'm looking at, you can only have a certain amount of animals. And it's maybe somebody stumble onto it and say, they got 50 animals out here that they have. Well, I'm pretty sure of that. So I think that's the remedy right there. Allow this gentleman, if he fenced in up to the limit of animals, to do it. And then like my neighbors, if I play my music too loud, they call the police on me. So I'm pretty sure it's just about like neighbors everywhere. So I think we can put all these restrictions on them if you want to. And it's your call, Commissioner. But I think at the end of the day, unless we have a code enforcement or sheriff deputy somebody watching or something, he probably could put in just about what him and his wife may want to.
Commissioner Cowan, and then we'll come back to you.
Again, my suggestion would be, Megan, if you could draw up a conditions
Right.
suitable for Commissioner Mason
That'd be
to
excellent.
review and Judy to review,
Yes.
and ask, do you mind tabling this till the next meeting before we vote on it?
That'll be excellent.
Just because, again, it's from my viewpoint, when people sell property, the next owner comes in, he wants to do something different.
And I know you got to look at the broad, I guess, picture of it, but I'm not looking to sell the property.
I understand that.
And we're wanting to make it our own little family home.
I understand that.
I could fence in, whatever needs to be fenced. It's currently fenced all the way down Oak Hill Road, Cedar Road, and all the way across the bottom side. The only thing that's not currently fenced is the top portion of it and then going down, but that's all creek. I mean, I could fence all that if I need to eventually fence that at some point in time to be able to allow us to have, a cow or whatever the case may be. Like I said, I'm not trying to make it some, massive production.
Sir, I understand 100%. Believe me, I do.
Currently, in that area, there are already other different houses with fencing and farm animals and so on. And I've spoken to the neighbors across the street. I've spoken to the neighbors that border it. The large piece of property to the top, 38 acres or so, there's a big, huge, I don't know, let's say 20-something acre lake that's on that. And nobody even lives on that particular piece of property. The guy that owns that lives in Florida. And I've spoken to all the neighbors. And, they're just happy we bought the property and they're not turning it into some massive subdivision. For us, it's not a subdivision. It's just a family thing.
I understand that. And if I could predict the future on what happens in people's lives, I'd be a trillionaire. But I can't. All I do is handle deeds and sales and closings and estates. People die. People make changes in their lives for whatever different reasons. But property does not stand stagnant. It moves. And the question is, the next person that comes along, what's he going to do? Have we put in a situation where he could take advantage of it to the detriment of your neighbors? That's what I want to avoid.
I guess based off of just the restrictions, you know, in the 2 animals per acre and the 34, I mean, like I said, I'm not planning on having 34, but nevertheless, I mean, 2 animals per acre, I mean, that's still a very small amount. That's just my opinion. You know, so
Commissioner, Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Judy, could we put conditions on, could Commissioner Mason put conditions on this tonight that says no commercial farming and no more than 30 total fowl and no more than 10 hooved animals on this piece of property as conditions, and approve this or vote on this tonight?
Yes, those 2 conditions could be added. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And we got, the county attorney needs to state something. One more.
Do you have any plans for what we would think of as farm animals? That we've had
you mean
several.
like exotic kind of animals?
Yeah, like anything that would seem abnormal to the most of us, but are you getting a pet bear? Are you looking to bring in something? Okay, we don't want Tiger King out there, you understand?
We're not looking for exotic animals. We're not looking, like I said, it's not a production. It's just, you know, a couple cows or so on and so forth, you know, our chickens and our ducks that we have now. I mean, like I said, for this, it's not even about the chickens and the ducks. I mean, we're only allowed technically to have that. It's just about my wife wanting to have a cow or 2 later down the road.
I just wanted to make sure we were aware of the types of animals, because as recently as a month ago, an exotic cat was caught in Buckhead. It came through people's doors while they were sleeping at night. So
yeah, I'm not planning on, and what you have already seen that's cleared, I mean, that's pretty much all I'm planning on clearing. You know, I want to live out in the middle of, you know, of the woods, have all the woods there, and that's it. You know, just be out in the middle of nowhere for us and be able to walk out and have some peace and quiet, look at the stars and enjoy that.
And it is that kind of area where it's located. So you're absolutely correct. It is kind of that particular area. So, Megan, is it a way that we can, I guess, what that motion that we would have to have drawn up, if you can actually tell me how we can state, yes, how we can state the motion.
on the amount of animals, do we want to say that the condition is a rule of 34 animals? Or we want to look at what Commissioner Edwards has said?
What Commissioner Edwards was saying.
Commissioner Edwards, can you repeat for me what you had indicated?
Well, my suggestion was no more than 20 fowl and 10 hooved animals and no commercial farming. What'd I say, 30 fowl? 30 fowl.
I guess the other question there is this is more about the hooved animals. I mean, I guess you do however you want to do it. You know, I don't know what the limitation of the fowl is with 17 acres.
Okay, well, you could remove the fowl on them. I mean, he's allowed.
I mean, like you said, for me, it's the hooved animals. And if you need to put a limit on that, I don't know, 10 or whatever you said, 10. That's fine. I mean, I don't.
So are we looking at then 34 animals with 2 type animals? Would that fit the needs that you're looking at?
Yeah, because he said cows and horses. So it looks like those are the only 2.
Okay.
So we're just talking about limiting the hooved animals to a specific amount, correct? Whatever that amount is.
I had, is that correct?
Well, you said 10 total, but 2 types, if that makes sense. So for example, 5 cows, 5 horses, 2 types, but 10 total.
So hold on for a second, guys. Judy, can you step in, please? Can you kind of help us out?
Okay, if I understood when Commissioner Edwards was weighing in a while ago, I thought his recommendation was 10 hooved animals, a total of no more than 10 hooved animals on the property, no commercial farming.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not going to put the fowl in there or the chickens, then it would be Condition number 1, that they would abide by section 510, 380. And condition B would be no more than 10 hooved animals for the total property. And then condition C would be no commercial farming.
And Judy, I have 5-10-380, and it was 510-380B. Is that correct?
No, the original condition up there was to maintain compliance with section 510-380. And that's condition number 1A. So 1B would be no greater than 10 hooved animals for the entirety of the 17 acres. And then condition C would be no commercial farming. I would say if you went back to the file, I thought you had originally said 30, but maybe you did say 20. Again, you can limit the chickens, but there is further restrictions on being able to do a poultry house, period, so that it couldn't really be set up for that because there's not enough acreage.
Commissioner Sanders?
Judy, what does the county ordinance say how many hooved animals you can have per fenced acre?
If you are zoned AR, you may have 2 hooved animals per fenced-in acre. So technically, there could be no more than 34 because there's no more than 17 acres here.
Okay.
But if you wanted to further restrict that, you could and limit them to the number 10, I believe, that was settled on.
Commissioner Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I guess this is more to legal. If you did that, wouldn't you have to go to anybody in unincorporated Newton County and tell them if they had 17 acres, say you can't have but a limited amount of hooves animals on your property, when the ordinance, I think from what I heard, now maybe I heard something wrong, when the ordinance said that he could have 34 if he fenced it in. So why are we sitting here changing it? We're changing it. And I think, in my opinion, I'll just tell you the way I feel. We're taking away his rights to him to have the animals on his property that the county allows, and then somebody come somewhere else new, unincorporated Newton County, get the same amount of property and put what they want on it, the 34, and they fenced it in. So I don't think we should be changing our ordinance in any fashion. I think you leave it up to, I'm just giving my opinion, you leave it up to, I think, his neighbors to call in, if that being the case, if they want to, and tell us what's on his property shouldn't be. But I just don't see us changing it. I just think this is another way for government to extend its long arms and telling people doing their property.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, what we already stated with the 10 hoof total is what I want. Yes. No commercial farming. Correct. So I think it was just the 3. Must maintain compliance with the section 510-380 of the Newton County zoning ordinance. Then B would be the 10 hooved animals. And then C would be no commercial farming.
And to accept all staff recommendations or staff recommendations on what can be.
That is what we're going to discuss. I just want to make sure we get all of it right.
Is that agreeable with you?
If it's 10 hooved animals, that's fine. I mean,
Okay, thank you.
I'm not trying to have a big farm.
Sure.
Commercial farming aspect of it. I'm not trying to commercial farm, but I can put like a garden and all that. Right? If I wanted to put a
yes.
garden-
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand the stipulations here. We went way past-
So Megan, if you can read it and then I'll just make a motion. Yes, correct.
I would like to make a motion to approve case REZ 21-000006 with staff conditions from the previous board, with the additional staff conditions imposed by the Board of Commissioners. There shall be no industrial farming. 2, there can be no more than 10 hoofed animals on the property. And 3, must abide by 510-380 feet.
And that would be, is commercial different from industrial? Or is that the same?
We could say no commercial/industrial farming.
Perfect.
So moved.
So moved by the county attorney.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please? Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any more discussion? All in favor?
One extension.
Can you state the reason? You abstaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I just think this is just another way of government telling the individual property owners or the people who live in our county what they can and can't do on their property. I think we just changed it from our zoning director, just stated to us that if he fenced it in, he could have 34 hooved animals. And so we're changing the hills, but yet you could go somewhere else in the county and they have the same amount of acreage and they can put probably what they want to put on it, at least the 34. And there's not going to be any policing of this anyway. Nobody's going to be looking at his back door other than his neighbor. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. It passed 4-1 extension, please. I'm sorry. You got it. It's Judy.
Yes, sir. The next item before you this evening for consideration is the conditional use permit request. This is CUP 21-000003. This is a home occupation with customer contact. The location is 706 Crowell Road. It is in an existing zoning of R2 single-family residential. It is also in the Yellow River watershed in Commissioner District Number 3. The total amount of acreage is 5.15 acres, and the owner and petitioner is Ms. Danielle Nicole Canoy. The applicant's intent is to operate a home occupation business with customer contact. Subject site and surrounding area. The subject site is 5.15 acres, zoned R2, single-family residential, located in the Alman Overlay Tier 2, and is currently developed with a single-family residence and accessory structures such as barns, a run-in shelter, and kennels for animals. The applicable standards: Section 510-310, Home Occupation Number H. Home occupations involving customer contact require approval through the conditional use permit. Customer parking is limited to only one patron at a time. Conclusion: if this meets the standards as set forth in Section 510-310, Home Occupation, it should be approved. Staff recommends should the Board of Commissioners approve the conditional use request to allow the home occupation business with customer contact, and that the approval will be with the recommended conditions. Here's an aerial view of the property. As you can see, again, the property is located at 706 Crowell Road. Here is a zoning map. This property is surrounded with like R2 single-family residential, and it's just north of the new high school. I think that's Newton High School there. Again, Commissioner District is District 3. And the recommended conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit for a home occupation with customer contact, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. Number 1, the hours of operation shall be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Number 2, no fireworks are allowed for any event. Number 3, a maximum of 4 outside events such as movie filming per year and shall be restricted as follows. A, outdoor event hours shall be from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 4, provide a 25-foot setback in which no activities or parking may occur from the southern property line adjoining map and parcel 43-166 or the physical address of 680 North Crowell Road. Number 5, Any and/or all required approvals and building permits shall be submitted and approved by the Newton County Development Services Department prior to the issuance of a business license. Number 6, the conditional use permit shall be valid for no more than a 2-year period. Upon or before the expiration of a conditional use permit, the owner shall make application to continue the conditional use permit if continuance is desired. Failure of the applicant to reapply for the conditional use permit may result in the home occupation license being rescinded. Number 7, the applicant must keep their business license current in order to operate. Number 8, the conditional use permit shall automatically terminate if the property is sold, transferred, or otherwise conveyed or discontinued. This is a conceptual plan submitted by the applicant. And then there are several photos through here that the applicant has provided to some of the animals that are on the property. This particular photo here shows the alligator pen, and it looks with lock and extra 45-degree reinforcement at the top. This is some pictures of some of the animals on the driveway. I believe those are goats. And then we have a small mammal building that is also in the bottom right corner. Then you have the barn that is at the front of the property, and then some other non-releasable nature animals. And then pictures of the house that was used for filming. And then was an opossum used for filming in downtown Covington for Sweet Magnolias. There were further pictures and information that the applicant has submitted that was part of your packets. And that is the conclusion of staff's presentation. Chairman, we're happy to answer questions, or if you want to wait till after the public hearing.
Yeah, let's wait till after the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you. The applicant and those in favor, we're going to open up this time for our public hearing. The applicant and those in favor that want to speak tonight, you may come at this time. Guys, remember you have 10 minutes to do so. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. The applicant and those in favor tonight.
Hi, I'm Nicole Canoy. I live at 706 Crawwell Road, Covington, Georgia. I've been rescuing animals and having a ministry for 26 years. My outreach programs consist of foster children and special needs kids. I have volunteers that come and help taking care of the rescue animals that are brought in by the local people. The 5013C that I have started, with a heart when I was little, and I've been in Newton County for 10 years. I moved here. I'm a single mom, 3 kids. With my animals, I have USDA and DNR permits and permitted through Disney World to be able to use my non-releasable rescue animals. They don't support all of the movie industry businesses because of the condition that the animals are kept in. My property is inspected by all 3 of those people at a drop-by basis. They don't schedule with me. They come by whenever they want. I do the Aflac ducks for the Aflac commercials. The cool thing about what I do is I use the animals that can't live in the wild, and I teach kids educational programs. I do preschool programs, high school programs. I go to 4-H. I do Eagle Scout badges. And more than anything is I help children feel needed. Society isn't very accepting of people, but animals are. So if I can take an animal that would die in the wild if I didn't help it, then I can help these kids that don't feel like they have a place. And then they come to my home. I've been doing this a long time. I try to cross my T's and dot my I's. This property was grandfathered ag, and that's where the red flag came up because it was switched to residential. I had emailed permission to move there before I did, and got permission to do so. And there was just confusion. And I'm just asking to continue doing the nonprofit work that I do and the ministry that I have. There's a couple of people here that are volunteers at my place. And it's just important to me that the animals have a place to go. When somebody finds something, they call me. And they bring it in, and I help it if I can. And if I can't, it goes on a non-releasable permit. I don't know if the recycling raccoon commercials, that's a raccoon that had a front and back broken leg that wasn't releasable. And now he is a state of Michigan recycling raccoon. It's pretty fun. I do all of the local shows here with the rescue animals. And then more importantly, the educational programs. Do y'all have any questions for me or?
Not at this time. Anyone else want to speak in favor tonight? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in favor tonight?
Good evening. My name is Jean Henry, and I am the neighbor at 680 Crowell Road. I've been living there now for 1 year. Moved in May last year. My grandchildren have visited Nicole's place. They love it. I'm one of the grandparents and another grandparent. She couldn't make it tonight. We kind of like homeschool our grandkids. And she's brought her grandkids over, and they've had the opportunity to actually visually see what they are reading about versus having to go downtown Atlanta to the Atlanta Zoo. I don't smell anything. None of the animals have gotten out, and I don't feel threatened. And it would be a tragedy if she was not allowed to keep the place. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
My name is Allison Anderson. I was a school teacher at Eastside High School and actually took some time for my health and have actually been helping out at Nicole's place, trying to recuperate from some of my own health issues that I've had. And being able to be out there and work with the animals has actually helped me get better and be able to recover. I think, was it your daughter who went to Eastside? Yeah. So I met you there. But being at Nicole's place and helping with the animals and all that she does has been amazing and beneficial. We have animals that come in that are injured or sick and being able to help rehabilitate them. And really, we have people, we've had even the police show up with injured animals asking for help out there. We've had animal control showing up with asking for help. And just being able to help out, and then seeing kids come in as being a teacher, just watching kids come in and watching them light up and learn, and the homeschooling kids come in, it's been amazing. It really would be a loss to the community if she wasn't out there.
Thank you so much. Anyone else?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Larry O'Brien. I've known Nicole for over 10 years, and been working there at the Wildlife Center, and helping and contributing materials and time, lots of time to make sure that she has, you know, what she needs to keep things secure, healthy, clean. There's countless hours that go in, and I'm not just the only one that has done such a thing. She really, really cares about everything that goes into that center and animals and all types of animals. She's done some very amazing things and brought animals back to life and helped kids, you know, really make a difference in the world. And I assure you that the place is ran with the utmost professionalism. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Anyone else? Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that would like to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name, your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight?
Hello, how you doing? My name is Mike Strange, and I own the property. If you can pull up the map, I'll show you what I own. Okay, the map where the star is at, I own the property to the left and to the back, all the way to the back. And we've had this property for 22 years. And the people that lived there prior to Miss Kenoy living there, she's only been there 3 years, and her neighbor that came up here, she's only been there for a year. They had a horse, you had a couple of horses. There was two people lived there, a couple of horses. And then how these are wild animals she has. They're not chickens and, you know, puppies and kittens. They are wild animals, alligators. The bulls have got out. There was a three-legged coyote or something that got out, a fox or something, whatever it was. And I got two grandchildren, and that could have been very ugly. And there's a school across the street. So she only has 5 acres. She got a house there, a barn, like a building. There's not really room for that many animals on that property. Not counting, she has no parking. And the lady at 680 says she could park there, but you know, she could move or sail or whatever. So she would have no parking at all because she has no parking. And the Crowell Road has been approved to be a 4-lane with a turning lane, so it had to be 5 lanes. So she's going to lose even more property. So it's going to decrease her property from 5 acres to even less. So she's not going to have that much land to keep that many animals. She's got a lot of animals. She got zebras. She got a giraffe. She got ostriches. I mean, she's got the bulls. You know, she got alligator. I mean, these are wild animals. These are not little, you know, stuff that people need to be around. And she's, you know, she slipped them in there in it's a residential area, and my mother lives there too. So I'm totally against it. And that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mm-hmm. Anyone else would like to speak in opposition tonight? Anyone else would like to speak opposing tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. Commissioner Sanders, Judy, if you would, the question.
This is a real sensitive issue because it's dealing with animals and it's dealing with people. But as lawmakers and policymakers, we have to follow the law. And I did do my due diligence and did some research. I also looked on the website as well, and discovered that there's 3 alligators on the property. And that was my concern if those alligators happen to get out. We have a school across the street, as the gentleman just stated. We have more homes that are being built, 300, 400, 500, 600 homes that are going to be built in that area. So if what will happen in the future that we have all of this? Based on the various ordinances we have in place, this is zoned residential, am I correct?
Yes, it is
And it's only
R2.
5 acres.
Yes,
And,
correct.
and based on Newton County, you have to have 10 acres to have, at least 10 acres to have a farm animals, am I correct?
You would have to be zoned AR. And this property is R2. It is what is considered legal non-conforming because there was existing horses on the property, but we would treat this property very similarly to the one that you just heard as far as if they could have no more than 2 hooved animals per fenced-in acres. So that should be for your hooved animals, but our ordinance doesn't address the other wildlife and exotic animals that
That's
is
the
on
issue.
the property. Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
the zebras, the llamas, the Scottish Highland cows, the Applicants, all of those, we don't have anything in place to assist with that. And you said it's supposed to be 100 feet from the property line per barn. Is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
property, the barn, 100 feet?
It does not, no. It
So
does
there's
not
many
meet that.
laws that are, or ordinances that are being broken, and that's the sensitivity. We're supposed to follow the guidelines and the law. My questions are, what is the plan if something happens to, I apologize, Miss Canolan, I apologize. What is the plan put in place if something happens, as Commissioner Cowan states, life happens, things happen. Who's gonna take over these wildlife animals? If one does escape, I remember having a conversation with, I think, Lloyd, that there is a law, if a wildlife animal escapes, somebody can defend themselves and utilize
Lethal force.
legal armed force and shoot the animal. So those various things are to come into play if the animal break loose. And having wildlife animals caged, they become aggressive if they happen to break loose. Is the feeding time structure where they won't get fed at a certain time? I mean, there's so many questions that I have in regards to this because we have ordinances in places. I don't know how this actually was put in a residential area without it being going through the process. As Ms. Canolan stated, she said she emailed the person. Where did she seek that permission from?
I'm not aware of an email, Commissioner Sanders.
Sure. Ma'am, if you would please come up, please.
It was the zoning office. So when I went to buy the property, because it's at R2, I called the real estate agent. I said, look, I know God put me here, but it's zoned residential. And she was like, no, 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 it's grandfathered agriculture. And I said, well, I can't move my animals there until I know that it's okay. And so I emailed somebody in zoning, which I have a copy of the email. If it's not in the packet, I can send it to you. I thought that was something that I gave the zoning office a couple of years ago when this first came up to make sure that I was in compliance. Because I'm USDA and DNR, that covers that's Department of Natural Resources and USDA. It covers any of the wildlife or exotic animals used for educational purposes. I've got 9 different permits. They should be in your packet, and it shows the education that I've had in order to have the animals that I have. I'm on Critter Fixers.
So are your permits with Newton County?
So Newton County, the way that Newton County works is y'all mandate the cook stock for the farm animals and the domestic animals, but you have to have the other permits in order to cover those animals and be registered through the Newton County Humane Society.
So were you aware when you moved in it was residential and that there were certain guidelines?
Grandfathered agriculture. The people own goats and horses that I bought it from, and since they said it was grandfathered agriculture, I could follow the agricultural rules. And so the answer was yes, but the agricultural rules didn't apply to exotic and native. I have within the correct standards for the agriculture animals on my property. And the domestic animals, I also am under numbers on for the domestic animals. It's the exotic and native that aren't covered, except for they are because I have to transfer them.
So she said it was grandfathered agriculture, but I thought this was residential.
So when the zoning ordinance was established, and we can go back and look at this particular property, there have always been some type of livestock that was on the property, whether it was a horse or two horses. So this is not like a regular agricultural. We would liken this to our AR, agricultural residential, which would limit the 2 hooved animals per fenced-in acre. I do believe the entirety of the 5.5 acres are fenced in, which would allow potentially up to 10 hooved animals. And there was one existing barn on the property, I believe, but the other enclosures where the animals are being kept, to my knowledge, do not meet that 100-foot setback.
And I had the opportunity to go by and look for myself. I didn't go in, but you do have a lot of animals for residential area. And my concern is with all the new homes that are coming in, we have so much that's building in District 3. You know, District 3 is the melting pot, you would say, of Newton County, because there's so many homes that are being built that with this being in that area and these exotic animals, and some of them are considered dangerous. I'm from Louisiana, so I've been raised around alligators. And I know what they can do. They can actually grow up to 1,000 pounds. So that is the issue that my concern that I'm having right now is the safety of the residents. And with it being across the street from a school, it's so much that comes into play.
The school kids have come over to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So very legitimate concerns.
Yeah.
I have permits for nuisance wildlife trapping and commercial trapping license because there are situations that people have had exotics that get out. Because the way that my permits work, I have to comply by government standards, not just county, not just state, but government. In order for my animals to be there, my enclosures have to be a certain height, a certain size. They have to be locked. There has to be 2 gates in order to get to them. There has to be a perimeter fence surrounding them. So there's 2 fences in between everything in case there is an emergency. So there are protocols in place for things like that to be concerned of.
It's not your permits that I'm questioning. It's the question of it's in residential and you only have 5 acres. Based on, and I said I'm a policymaker, I have to follow the law. Based on the guidelines for Newton County, you have to have a certain amount of acres to have that amount of animals. And then we don't have anything in place in regards to wildlife for it. So that's the issue. And I know the Planning Commission didn't do a lot of research that I did because I spoke to some of them. They didn't know all of these things. And I did go on your website. Yeah.
To make sure it was 100 feet from the side because I was going by the grandfather in the agriculture when I went there. I'm sorry I did not understand about the native and the wildlife because I had already been in Newton County for 8 years and had my permit. And DNR brings me animals, the police, the firemen, animal control. Everybody knows that I was here. I've been here for a long time doing this service for Newton County.
And I did have an opportunity to go on your website. You're advertising this as a petting zoo and charging almost $200 an hour for that.
We do off-site petting zoos. That the money that we get from the petting zoos, 100% goes into feeding the native animals that are rescued. That's where the food money comes from. So we do educational programs. We do free programs for the inner city Atlanta homeless kids shelter. We do a lot of free programs, but the ones that we charge for are birthday parties and weddings. And that's all off-site. None of that is done on the property. It's all travel. We have 3 trailers that we take off-site.
So you're not having any people come on your site. What I would like to do, and I don't know if any commissioners have any questions before I actually say anything. Anybody had, Mr. Chairman, I don't know if anybody had any. Okay. I would like to table this for 60 days, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because we don't have all of the guidelines in place. I want to make sure the county is protected because these are exotic animals in a residential area that's being built across schools with children. If they happen to get out, and that's a possibility. Animals do escape, dogs escape, everybody get out. You have children that are in that area. And so we can, as a county, can be liable granting you this permit, someone can get hurt. And those are the things that should have been considered also before moving into a residential area. And I apologize to whomever told you this, that they informed you of this. So
I have 3 girls, and I'm a senior. And,
I am too.
So my
Yeah.
kids have grown up with this, and I have kids at my property on a daily basis, and special needs kids, and a blind 3-year-old that comes to my property. So I let them come and they volunteer, and the animals that are not releasable. So the animals that come in, most of them, like I don't have to leave her anymore. She had a head injury, that's why she came in as a baby. She was hit by a truck. And I fixed it, and then she went on to the house. Most of the time, my animals don't stay very long. There are a couple that stay because there's not another place for them to go. Those are the ones that use certification programs. So they're tame enough for me to take to schools and to new sets and to educational programs. Anything that would be that is kept on property that is not released back into the wild. I have 2 programs. Those, the animals that are kept there, are tamed and used for camps and go to hospitals and things like that. So
But
they
the great
are-
thing, I'm sorry, I know if you're finished, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Okay. But the great thing about it is you know these animals. They know you. So if someone happens to be around the animals get scared just like humans. And there's things that could happen and that can occur. So.
You're welcome to look. I think that there should be more pictures. I have tops on everything. There's padlocks, there's ski codes. These are kept in certain areas. There are different people that are allowed in different zones, like 4 zones of the property. That way, that nobody does escape, and it's just the,
Yeah. So because I did speak to some of the neighbors, they actually called me, and I mean, it's one word against the other. They live behind you, and they said the smell and various things, and nobody wants to be uncomfortable in their homes as well. So we have to look at all levels. We have to look at everybody. So what I would like to do is I would like to table this for 60 days, Judy, requesting no additional animals to be added at this time until we have everything in place, or operating as a petting zoo on property, because we are in a pandemic. Without the proper licensing, because you don't have a license to do business from the in the county.
but I don't do it on property.
Yeah, in the county, for development service to seek the additional information needed to protect the county and the citizens of the county.
You making that as
That's
a
a
motion?
motion, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I make that motion, I apologize.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders to table this and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any more discussion? All in favor? We stay in table for 60 days. Thank you.
Thank you. The next zoning item before you this evening is a conditional use permit, CUP 21-000004. This is a request to add to an existing auto truck repair business the ability to have 25% of the property designated for outdoor storage. The property is located at 11225 Highway 36. It's currently zoned M1 Light Industrial. It is in both the Yellow and the Alcovey River watershed. It is in District 5. The size of the property is 3.11 acres, and the petitioner is Mr. Seal, and he is represented by Mr. Derwin Davis. The applicant's intent is to designate and establish 25% of the property for outdoor storage for an existing auto truck repair business. Subject site contains 3.11 acres. Again, it is zoned M1. It's located in and surrounded by both commercial and residential properties. The site contains one 2,900 square foot commercial business building, which faces Highway 11. Some of you may remember this. I believe it was the Cotton Gin back in the day. The applicable standards. The reason this request is before you this evening is when you're doing an auto repair in Section 510-100 of the Newton County Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1, the zoning ordinance, you're required by Condition C, any outdoor storage requires a conditional use approval. Outdoor storage is limited only to 25% of the lot. The conclusion, the use for a truck repair business is allowed and already established on the property. However, there cannot be any outdoor storage on the property without an approved conditional use permit. Therefore, should the board approve the conditional use to request to add to the existing business the ability to have 25% designated for outdoor storage, staff recommends the following conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved for a conditional use permit to add to an existing auto truck repair business the ability to have 25% of the property designated for outdoor storage, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. To the owner's agreement to abide by the following development standards and regulations. 1, all activities for auto truck repair business shall be carried on entirely within the enclosed building. 2, outdoor storage is limited to 25% of the total lot or 0.75 acres of the 3.11 acre tract. Outdoor storage areas and refuse containers shall be screened and buffered so as not to be visible from the public right-of-ways or abutting residentially zoned properties. To assure outdoor storage will not be visible, the owner shall submit a site plan to the Department of Development Services showing how it will be screened from view. Number 4, wrecker service, salvage, abandonment, recovery, or repossession of automobiles and trucks and the temporary storage of said vehicles is prohibited. Again, this is an aerial view. This is just north of where you would turn on County Road 213. This is in an existing building, and they have operated a truck repair business there, I believe, for a total of 2 years. I know they have a current business license to do so. Again, this shows where the property is zoned M1 light industrial, and as you can see, it is surrounded by other light zonings. This property is part in the Alcovey River watershed and primarily in the Yellow River watershed. This is a survey plat of the property, and as you can see to the north or the top of the page shows where the existing building is. And this is a site plan the applicant has proposed. At the top of the picture is going to be the existing road of Highway 36, and they are proposing to go to the rear corner behind the existing building along their property line to designate for the storage area. And I know that the applicant and his representative is here, and I'm happy to answer questions or to do so after the public hearing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We're going to open it up now for the applicant and those in favor. If you would, please come. You have 10 minutes to do so. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. The applicant and those in favor. Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Derwin Davis. My address is 1889 Brandy Woods Trail, Conyers, Georgia. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for this opportunity tonight. I am very proud to be here to be representing Daniel Seal and Metro Equipment and Leasing located here in Newton County. This is my first time being before you all, so I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your service to this community. Your sacrifice to this community does not go unforeseen. So before I present 3 reasons why this conditional use permit should be granted, I want to take an opportunity to introduce my client and his business to you all. Mr. Seal is served in Marines. He served 2 tours of duty, 1 tour in Afghanistan, 1 tour in Iraq. That is where he learned heavy equipment repair. Upon returning to the state of Georgia, he began to work for other heavy equipment companies. He eventually opened this business in Rockdale County approximately 5 years ago, And as Ms. Johnson stated, he moved his business to Newton County 2 years ago. 3 reasons why I'm asking for this conditional permit to be granted. Reason number 1, traveling north on Highway 36 from Highway 213, the property is on the right. The 25% storage area that we have chosen is in the northeast corner. If you know anything about this property, the center of the property where the current 2,900 square foot building is located sits on the peak, on the apex of the property. It's on the center point and at the highest point of the property. So if you're traveling north on Highway 36 and you look over to the right, the building is at the top part of the property and the storage will be on the northeast corner behind the property. So I would position to you all that someone driving on 36 would not be able to see the brunt of the storage from the highway. Number 1, because of the building which is approximately 3 stories tall, and then number 2, because of the grade of the property. We have an upgrade of the property, a building on the top, and then a storage behind the building. Reason number 2 that this conditional use permit should be granted. The use in which my client proposes is similar, if not the same, as use by adjacent property owners. I have a list of 4 other companies. I'm not going to name the company names, but there's a list of 4 other companies who operate very similar operations in adjacent properties. I realize that they have their own sets and circumstances and reasons why they do what they do, and by no means are we asking for anything that has been done in the past. But I just want to point out the fact that the use is similar. So when someone is traveling on Highway 36, they're going to see similar businesses as my client operating in the area, and is not going to be an eyesore. Furthermore, the use of this property prior to my client was the same type of use, heavy equipment repair. The third reason why I'm asking for this conditional use permit to be approved is because I do not foresee any adverse impacts on neighbors or on any of the residential communities in the area. Furthermore, I do not see any adverse impacts on pedestrians in the area. My experience with this part of Highway 36, there is very limited pedestrian traffic walking up and down the highway. There has not been an allocation of a sidewalk to that area, I would presume, because there's really not a need for a sidewalk in that area to allocate the funds and that service to that area. Furthermore, the entrance to my client's property is shared with the adjacent property, and this is a very wide entrance. So the types of equipment and the types of trucks which will be entering into the property have plenty of room to safely enter, egress and ingress into the property on and off of Highway 36. So in summary, this is a business owner who has been in business for 5 years. I believe that he is a good member of our community, the type of business owner we want in Newton County. We apologize for not already applying for this conditional use permit. Furthermore, I believe that this will have very little impact on the neighbors of this property, and I will reserve the rest of my time to respond to any opposition. Thank you again for your service, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much. Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Thank you. That closes that portion of our public hearing. We also allowed 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. If you will, please come at this time. State your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. Commissioner Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit CUP 21-00004 down on Highway 36, subject to the conditions enumerated.
Can I get a second, please? Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Ms. Judy.
Yes, sir, and we are rounding up. The next item before you this evening is an ordinance amendment. This is ordinance 092121, an ordinance to amend the Newton County Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 1 Zoning Ordinance, Division 105 Definitions, Article 4 Overlay District Regulations, and Article 5 Regulations to repeal conflicting provisions and to provide for an effective date and for further purposes. The first section before you this evening, and I did send both the ordinance itself and then I sent this guide here that would highlight the red, and the red shows what we're changing. We are adding a definition for a butt. We are amending the existing agricultural definition to the one that you see in your paperwork. We are adding a sentence to the end of the word buffer. We are creating a new definition for civic public space, a new definition for commercial truck. We are removing the old definition for density and creating specific definitions, which are residential density, non-residential density, mixed-use density. We are adding a definition for fleet parking. We are asking to add to the definition of frontage, a lot frontage, that also be road frontage. We are adding a definition for lot area, a definition for lot depth, a section specific for a parking garage, a section again added for a parking lot. And we are asking to take the old definition of truck parking dispatch and truck stop and replace these with these new sections that will also have further requirements in the ordinance if you wanted to establish either a truck terminal or a truck stop in the future. So that is all of section 1. Do y'all have any questions on the definitions, or were those pretty straightforward?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. Section 2 is to remove in our brick store overlay. Currently, we do not allow any type of truck stop, parking, or dispatch in our Alman and Salem overlays. So this section here would be to mirror our brick store overlay and take out the subsection M and to have it be the same as our Salem overlay and our Alman overlay. And then the next section is section 3, and this is amendment to our use table. We are asking to amend parking lot and parking garage, and we're wanting to add a subsection to that, which is 510-440. And we are also changing where it would now be allowed by right in highway commercial or general commercial. We are asking for that to be a conditional use. And we are also adding to zoning district M1 light industrial, this to be allowed by right. And then the other section of the use table we're asking to amend is to require if someone would like to do a truck stop, regardless of the area, if it is in one of the 3 districts, general commercial, light industrial, heavy industrial, that would be a conditional use that would come back in front of this board, so the public would also be able to come and express their opinions if you were tasked with a use request. And then for our truck terminal dispatch and parking, we are also establishing districts in which someone would be able to do that. And we're asking as well that those be conditional use permits, again, just for the public input and for this board to have the final say as to whether or not a use that is considered very, potentially very harsh would come before this board before just granted by the zoning ordinance. In section 4, we're asking to clarify accessory structures if used as a primary structure, that it be only barns used for agricultural purposes. So let's say that someone had 20 acres, it was zoned AR, and they did not want to locate their home there. They would be able to add a barn to it, but they could not go and just build a garage, because a garage would not be for the purpose of agricultural. Then in section 5, we are asking to take a look at our current guest house regulations. Currently, there is no restriction on the number of guest homes that you can have on a lot. There is a restriction to the amount of density, or not density, but impervious surface that you can have. But if theoretically someone could potentially build 4 guest homes on one lot, and in essence what we're doing, we're taking that from a single family zoning, and we're creating that a multifamily zoning, and that was not what was the intention of a guest home. But we are allowing in zoning districts A, agricultural, and AR, they would be able to have more than one guest home based on the amount of acreage or their density. But if they wanted to go more than that and they were a true farm, that would be a conditional use that would come back so the board could consider it. Then in section 5, we are adding standards if someone wants to do a parking lot or a parking garage. Truly, this will help staff. We've had a lot of great businesses and places take advantage to provide some truck parking. So we get those out of our residential districts, but we do not have standards right now. So a lot of these are just going on open ground. So this kind of allows us to make sure we get detention ponds and curbing and those types of improvements that will help protect our environment. And then the last section that we're asking you to look at is the truck stop. Again, this would be allowed, but we're just wanting to kind of amend the regulations to kind of fit, like, just based on other areas, it looks like 10 acres would be at least a good minimum start to have. We're also asking that these not be within 500 feet of a residential district, just to kind of help buffer those residents, just creating areas where non-residential works. And then finally, we're asking to add a section that would guide if you were a truck terminal, or if you were a truck dispatch, or if you were just basic truck parking. And that is all for the first ordinance request, which again is ordinance O-092121.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to open up for the public hearing. So the applicant would be the county. So those that want to speak in favor tonight, you may come at this time. You have 10 minutes to do so. Those that want to speak in favor tonight, you may come at this time. Those that want to speak in favor tonight. Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also now want to open it up for those who would like to oppose tonight. You also have 10 minutes to do so. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. Commissioner Edwards.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance O-092121 and all pertinent details as stated by the Planning and Zoning Director.
Can I get a second? Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion tonight? All in favor? Any opposed? It passes 4-1. Ms. Judy.
Yes, sir. The next item before you is another ordinance amendment, and this is O-092121A, and this is an ordinance to amend the Newton County Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 2, Development Regulations, Article 2, Division 1200, and Article 4, Division 1415, to repeal conflicting provisions and to provide for an effective date and for further purposes. So again, what we've done is we have mirrored in our development regs the same definitions that we needed to add to the zoning ordinance. We went ahead and put this within that Chapter 2. So you're just going to see the same clarifying definitions. There are no different definitions that were added to this one that was not in the previous. This is again putting it in Chapter 2. And then the second section and the final section of this ordinance revision is to clarify re-subdivision of land. We have had in the past where we have an existing subdivision which may have a large acre tract, and someone may want to subdivide that. Well, there was a provision in the ordinance that if your subdivision was built after a certain date, then you would have to go back in front of the Planning Commission. You would have to notify your neighbors and go to the Planning Commission if you're in a platted subdivision, not out on a county parcel, but a platted subdivision. Well, a lot of the requests we had coming in were for subdivisions that were before this effective date. And after the subdivision of the land, we would get calls from the neighbors that they felt they weren't properly informed. So this would take this back to requiring anyone that is in a platted subdivision, if they want to subdivide that property, it would just need to go before a public hearing and a procedure. So then the community would be aware if they were creating another lot within that community. And that is the only two sections in this amendment request.
Thank you so much. We're going to open it up now for our public hearing tonight. Again, the applicant is the county. We're going to allow 10 minutes for those that want to speak in favor tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to speak in favor tonight? Anyone want to speak in favor tonight? A portion of the public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's time to make a motion to approve ordinance O-092121A as stated with pertinent details as stated by the planning zone director.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please? Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Ms. Judy.
And the final item under zoning this evening is Resolution 092121. And this is a resolution of Newton County Board of Commissioners extending until January 18th, 2022, an existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications of zoning petitions and preliminary plat/concept plans for new residential development. And there are three base concepts of this. One would be the Newton County Board of Commissioners does hereby enact a moratorium barring until January 18th, 2022, the acceptance of applications of zoning petitions and preliminary plat concept plan petitions for new residential development. Number two, the moratorium imposed by this resolution shall terminate on the earliest date of 1 January 18, 2022, or 2, approval by the Newton County Board of Commissioners of an additional moratorium after the public hearing, or 3, the adoption of an amendment to the current language of the Unified Development Ordinance. And number 3, the resolution shall be effective upon a majority vote by the Board of Commissioners. And this was discussed in our work session that we held last week.
Thank you, ma'am. We're gonna open it up now for our public hearing. Again, this is the county, who is the applicant. We're gonna allow for 10 minutes for those that want to speak in favor tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name, your address for the record, please. Anyone want to speak in favor tonight? Anyone want to speak in favor tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name, your address for the record, please. Anyone want to oppose tonight? Anyone want to oppose tonight? That portion of our public hearing is closed. I seek a motion, please, Commissioner. Yeah, we got a long night. We got an executive session tonight. I seek Commissioner Cowan.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R092121. I'm sorry, for the extend the moratorium to January 18th, 2022.
Thanks, sir. Can I get a second, please? Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? Commissioner Sanders. Lady first.
Judy, I know we had a discussion on the acreage. Is that included in here as well?
That will actually be what we will bring to you either before or at the January meeting. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Those are we wanted to get a list of the potential developments that may be affected, that may have some type of vested right to move forward. So yes, ma'am, that will be coming back.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm not mistaken, what we talked about and the reason why we have this moratorium, and somebody, if you would please correct me if I'm wrong, is to find and work out a plan where the average person can build on 2 acres. That if you have a family piece of property that you have purchased or was deeded to you by your family, said 50 to 100 acres or 200 acres, said that you couldn't sell that property, but you or somebody couldn't buy it from you, that you just kind of be stuck with it unless you want to be 2 acres per house. And I think it wasn't an argument, but what I said was that I didn't think it was right for somebody to have property that was gifted to them, that he had purchased several acres and you couldn't sell it and you couldn't do anything with it. And the reason was that it was because them kind of was getting too full. And I think what I've said to some people who have kind of questioned me about it, I said, well, if you don't want to, if the county do not want you to build on it, then the county should buy it from the people. You shouldn't just have somebody who paid taxes on their family, who paid taxes on property for several years, have them unable to sell it. Just sitting there with it, paying taxes. And I just don't, in my little simple mind, I don't think that's right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Cowan.
Judy, I just want to make clear, this does not affect commercial development or industrial projects.
No, sir, this would only be for
Residential.
This, correct, and this does not affect current buildable lots. People can still purchase building permits if the lot is already created.
Even in residential areas.
Even in residential, yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So
it would just prohibit new subdivisions being planned until we're able to set those limits and have those meetings to find out where that density should be going.
however, if there is a commercial component to a mixed-use development, they could still work through that. Is that correct?
They could potentially, yes, sir, move ahead and build with a commercial. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So, Commissioner
Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. our discussion was that once we conclude this moratorium, that a landowner or person would have to have 2 acres in order to build a lot on. Not right now as present, because we're not, we even though we're in a moratorium, we haven't set the, I guess the perimeters or rules for it. It was supposed to be 2 acres. At least that's what I heard. I thought. Could you explain that to me, please?
Yes, sir. What our proposal was at the work session was to get the current advertised moratorium, and then we discussed possibly relieving residential development if someone was doing a 2-acre lot or greater for new development, but that has not been advertised. That would have to come back before this board once we went through a legal advertising process.
Yes, ma'am. I'm
yes,
just
sir.
finishing up now. So this the plan. The plan is to end up with a 2 acres minimum to build a home on. And the reason was because it was just too many folks was just moving in, and it was just too much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. It passes 4-1.
Thank you,
Ms. Judy. Next is on the agenda is item number 9. Item number 9, Fire Services requesting approval to accept the FY 2020 FEMA Fire Prevention and Safety Grant of $11,354.20 to purchase fire alarms. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Annually, the fire department conducts fire safety training. As part of that training and part of their community outreach, we do provide smoke alarms for residential properties. So if someone needs a smoke alarm, wants one, we can provide that for them. There's a $567 match for this. And this request is simply to accept the $11,000 FEMA grant with that match so that we can continue that program.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, commissioners? I seek a motion, please.
So moved. That's stated by the county manager.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Coward and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion?
Edwards.
I mean, Commissioner Edwards. I know we Commissioner Edwards.
We look alike.
Yeah, I hear you. Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0. Guys, I do need to revert back to item number 8, the consent agenda. I did skip over that, but I seek a motion that we approve, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It's been motion by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? Commissioner Sanders.
There was just one thing from the August 17th on the consent agenda. I think on item number 12 was left off, and it probably was the oversight where Commissioner Henderson and myself asked the county manager to also look into Salvation Army and United Way and come back with information in regards to the CARES Act fund. That was item number 12. I think it only mentioned the consultant. It didn't mention the Salvation Army and the United Way.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd have to review the tape. I don't really remember that, but I'll have to review the tape on that too.
Yeah. Okay. We can modify that later. Okay. Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? All in favor? Thank you, sir. It passed 5-0. Next is item number 10. Animal Services request to apply for a grant from the Atlanta Humane Society. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Atlanta Humane Society does have a grant program that is available for us to apply for. We're applying for $50,000 during the construction of the new Animal Services building. There was is a surgical room that has been planned for that. We did allocate $50,000 towards that. It's estimated the cost to equip that room is going to be $100,000. So what our Animal Control or Animal Services Director Cindy Wyman is attempting to get the remainder of the funds that would be necessary so that we can complete that portion of the Animal Services building.
Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What type of surgery will be performed once that room is completed?
It's primarily set up to help to allow us to treat the animals there if there are injured animals that we've had to confiscate, so that they don't have to go to a veterinary office, that we could actually handle it there. Also, we're looking. We also have some veterinarians who are interested in performing spay and neuter for us, and this would allow that to occur right there on the premises so that we don't have to transport the animals.
Would that be cheaper? The reason why I'm asking, because I'm pretty sure if we had a veterinarian, that he or she would charge us.
It would actually save us some money in order to do this. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Sanders.
Did we already have a service list provided of how much the service is going to cost, and where would the funds be distributed to? Is it going back into a budget, or?
Actually, yes. I'll ask Cindy if you would mind coming up to address that, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. So what we're seeking with this is, for the last 2.5 years, we've had a partnership with Planned Parenthood of Georgia, who has provided all the spay-neuter surgeries for the animals adopted from the shelter. They do charge us per surgery. Through our agreement with them, they have a veterinary team who would be willing to come to Newton County to perform the surgeries at the shelter. If you'd looked at your budget manuals, which I don't actually have mine with me, but it showed where if we purchased this equipment ourselves and then paid their surgery team to come in, over 10 years, the equipment would more than pay for itself, estimating that we're going to do around 800 surgeries a year, which is about what our adoptions are running. Additionally, it will save staff time because right now we have to load all the animals up on the bus, and in some cases we have to transport them to Duluth ourselves. Then we have to also have them transported back to the shelter. What the agreement would be is their veterinary team would come in 1 day a week and provide all the surgery for the animals that are adopted or that we feel that would be adopted, that have passed their stray hold. After that, they would also be available to do on-site veterinary services such as some minor diagnostics. Of course, we would not be doing major surgeries. We wouldn't have x-rays. We wouldn't be diagnosing things like things that you would need a more intensive case, more equipment. But this would basically be providing the spay-neuter services for the animals at the shelter.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much for helping our animals here in Newton County. Could you give me a estimate of how much it may it cost? Say for you said 800 animals a year, or estimated 800 animals a year.
That's estimate, rough estimate of where I expect to be this year for the number of animals that are adopted from the shelter.
Yes, ma'am. So if we going out and getting somebody or taking them, so what do we might be? I mean, what's the estimate cost for that service? Get them spayed and neutered, and if we get a surgical team to come in, you said over 10 years, we more than pay for itself. I mean, could you give us a number or something? Give me a number
of what the surgeries would cost.
Well, yes, because.
I actually had all that.
It should be amount of money.
Thank you.
Sorry, it should be amount of money that we're paying. I mean, over a year, Should
The
the
average
spreadsheet
surgery-
tells how much.
The average surgery cost now runs between about $80 and $90 per surgery. And with the agreement with Planned Parenthood, with having the surgery team come to the shelter, they would charge us, I believe, is around $600 just for that one day. But they
Yes,
would
ma'am.
do 20 plus surgeries in that one day, and so it'd be, it wouldn't be an immediate savings,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
figure the
I
amount of the
agree.
equipment, but over an extended period of time. Additionally, we hope to grow this program
Yes, ma'am.
and do more surgeries because we will be paying the veterinary team
Yes, ma'am.
per day rather than per surgery.
Yes,
So the
ma'am.
more surgeries we can do, the more money we'll save.
Yes, ma'am. So one final question. I think we got a long night. Just the chairman has said. So if we adopt an animal out to somebody, how much do we get for adopting?
For a dog or cat, for a dog, the fee is right now $100, and for a cat, it's $75. That includes the core vaccinations, rabies vaccination if they're old enough, microchip, deworming, flea medication, and the spay
Yes,
or
ma'am.
neuter. So we're not really breaking even on it, but we want to maintain competitive. And our goal is to find good homes for as many animals as we
Yes, ma'am.
possibly can.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sanders.
Mine's really quick. Do you foresee any additional costs from the county from this project? With the surgical equipment being placed up to perform the surgeries, will there be any additional costs outside of your budget that will cost the taxpayers inside of that?
Well, if you remember when we went through the budget before, there was an increase in medical. There will be additional costs, but it would be in medical supplies, things like the suture material, those type of things that are replenishable. But that was all figured into my equation also, where if you look, the more adoptions that you do, the more money we bring in adoptions, which also then affects the supplies needed and surgery costs. Because one of the things in the budget this year, remember that it was a really large increase in the medical services. Well, what happened would some of that money would then be moved into medical supplies because the services amount would drop because we wouldn't be paying the $80 per surgery, but we would have replenishable supplies. But the initial equipment, most of the equipment lasts a very, very long time. A surgery table doesn't wear out. Autoclaves normally last 15 to 20 years. Surgery lights, you just buy a new light bulb. So a lot of the equipment is pretty sturdy and would just be standard.
Thank you so much. All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next, Newton County Sheriff Office seek permission to accept the Residential Substance Abuse Treatment RSAT Award in amount of $65,101. Mr. Kerr.
Annually, the sheriff's office does receive some funding for the RSAT program that is operated in the jails from the CJCC. This year, the award is $65,000. It is budgeted to match for that. I don't think there's anyone here from the sheriff's office to answer any questions for you, but that's essentially what this.
Thanks, sir. Take it. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Item number 12, intergovernmental agreement between Newton County and the City of Covington, Standing Dog Park at Chimney Park. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Located in part of as a part of Chimney Park, is a fenced-off area that was a number of volunteers fenced off and developed as a dog park. The city of Covington has stepped up to say that they would be interested in maintaining that park. This intergovernmental agreement is a 12-month agreement that would automatically renew unless one party or the other would like to end it. But simply, it allows the city of Covington to enter onto the property and perform any maintenance or that would need to be necessary to be done on there. Things like providing dog pickup bags, preparing the fence if necessary, and so on. So we would recommend that we do enter into this intergovernmental agreement and approve Covington taking over the maintenance on that park.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. Come on, guys. It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I'm not mistaken, and I guess, Lord, you correct me, I think this Cheney Park is somewhat set, maybe in District 4, if I'm not mistaken. But the question I have, which doesn't really matter, oh, I'm sorry, I correct myself. The question that I do have is that how much will we spend on maintenance of Chimney Park?
We actually spend very little over there. Periodically, we're asked to come and remove trees or debris, but there's a group of volunteers who do most all of the maintenance there. But we only periodically go there if there's a large piece of where a large piece of equipment's needed to remove something or place something there. We will help out, but it's very periodic.
And the reason why I asked, will we still have to, remove the tree or some type of debris, or does the city of Covington assume that duty too as well?
The last time that I'm aware of that we had an issue with a tree, the county did remove the tree. There was budgeted, I believe, $99,000 in the 2017 SPLOST. And we are going to be working with the Friends of Chimney Park to determine what they might do. There's a lot of small items over there that need to be repaired. There's some art work that was placed in the park that probably needs to be taken care of. Now it's become rusted and so forth. There needs to be a deck completed over the basement of the building that was initially there. So there's some things that need to be done. There was some money set aside to do that. The Friends of the Park are interested in doing that and taking over and taking on that responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is item number 13. Cornish Creek requesting approval of the update of current water model for Williams Creek to reflect the current water demands and future water needs as required by the strategic water plan, Mr. Kerr. Water resource plan, Mr. Kerr.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We needed, in order for us to have the current updated information for our to provide for the future demand that we know is coming, we need to do some upgrading and updating to our water model, particularly because William Street now is actually operating, will be operating more hours, more days. So that's what the cost of this is to have that model updated by Freese and Nichols, which is one of our consulting engineering firms that we use at Cornish Creek.
Commissioners, I seek a motion, please. It's been a motion by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Next is discussion of the SPOS committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have before you the list of the SPLOST committee members. All I'm doing tonight would like to do with this is just to leave you with that list. Come back to you on October the 5th, give you some time to decide whether or not you would like those individuals to continue on there or not. If not, if you have a replacement, then we could replace that person. There's at the next meeting. Pardon me. What we'd like to do is to go ahead and get started on the next, begin working on the next SPLOST. The makeup of the committee is one for each of the commissioners, and then one appointment by the chairman and one appointment by myself. And these individuals their job would be to help to formulate and bring to you a recommendation for the next SPLOST as to what projects might be included on there. And the duration of their appointment is for the life of the SPLOST. So it would be a 6-year SPLOST. Next SPLOST would go into effect in 2023. So they would be appointed for that period of time, and their duties are simply just to be as involved as they would like to be in the SPLOST projects, in terms of monitoring. The current members have, several of them have sat in on some of the design meetings and have also been a part of some of the process and have watched pretty closely as some of the projects have come to fruition. So, but at this point, all I'm doing tonight is you have that list. If you would just consider it, if you want to change the person that's on there or leave that person on there, we'll have those, make those appointments then at the next meeting, and then we'll begin the work for the next SPLOST.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I just want to say this, and I'm sorry that we are working so late at night for the people who are still, in the audience and maybe want to talk to us later on. But I've been trying to figure out for the past 2 years, why do we have a SPLOST committee? And the reason why I'm asking that question is that it's the duty of these 5 commissioners up here to make a decision is for, if the SPLOST is approved by the citizens of Newton County, for us to figure out together is what we want to spend in districts, if we want to spend anything in districts, on the process. I have never been like the fact that we will give our duty and responsibility to somebody else, and they'll come back and tell us what should go in the districts, how much you spend in this district, how much you spend in that district, and then you wave your hand up and say that, and they don't know the districts and the people as well as we do. Now, I believe that we should assume our responsibility for the people who elected us to do a job. And you may not like it, may seem to be hard, but that's the reason why we were elected. Anyone else?
Well, certainly if the board would like to discontinue having the committee, that's your prerogative. That would certainly be up to y'all. Their job was to help kind of narrow down all of the requests and everything from the and from all of the citizens and from the other interested citizens, business owners, whoever had an interest in what the SPLOST might be. And so they just made a recommendation. The ultimate decision is still yours. If you don't like their recommendation or for projects or how, certainly you don't have to accept it. But that was part of what they were doing. The intent was to, I think, was to try to help you in narrowing down, whittling down some of some of the requests because there were so many requests. And that's really what they were there for.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know on this board, we kind of talk about wanting to have as much citizen engagement as we possibly can on different things that go on in the county. So it seems like, and Lord, you can correct me if I'm incorrect, that it seems like this SPLOST committee was put together so that we can have some form of community engagement, as well as this board, just like any other boards that we have, like our planning board, our zoning board of appeals, our animal board, we're able as commissioners to work with those individuals that are appointed for each district to kind of talk about what those district projects would look like, what those district projects should be, so we can kind of work with those appointments on the SPLOST committee. Is that correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would encourage you to, whoever is going to be, assuming the committee would continue, whoever would be there to talk to them, to let them know what your interests are. If you have something from your constituents that brought forward as a project that you want to champion, certainly I would let them know that, so that that can be presented. There will be public meetings so that we can get public input. They can, people can come and give them ideas of what they want. So then they can take the list and again, go through and vet it, talk to you all about that, and then come up with a recommendation. But yeah, the intention is to have more back and forth between you all and the appointee, and then with them too, to be involved with whoever in their district, the folks who are the influential, maybe the influential folks, or the folks who have a particular interest or stakeholder, to get, to bring the message back to them of what might be proposed, so that they can get a good feel, and then you all too would have a good indication of what the public's looking for.
And then you're basically stating that the appointments that are currently on the SPLOST committee,
yes,
it would be up to us as commissioners to go and have conversations with those individuals to
Right.
see if they still want to remain appointed,
correct.
or if they don't, or if we decide we want to reappoint someone else, so that by October 5th, you'll have a complete list, and then they will actually be on this committee for the duration of this next SPLOST.
That's correct. Certainly, if you need more time, if you prefer that we push it to the second meeting of October, that's fine. I've got no objection at all to that. But I do know that we will need to get started on the public process. And there are a lot of interested parties, and there's, as you know, there's several projects that, some of the members of the board here have promoted projects that they'd like to see on there. So certainly, I think once we get started, then we'll be able to get that done and out of the way. But yes, definitely, that's what it's for.
Okay. That was all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
The only issue I have with the SPLOST committee is that the information is not being disseminated back to the commissioners, because you and I have had a conversation about that. I talked to all of my committee and board members, and the last time they had a conversation, there was no projects with District 3 on there, and I kind of came back to you about that. So that is the issue that I have, is that the information is not being provided, and the projects are not equally distributed when they're submitted to the SPLOST committee, because they report back to me and tell me everything that's happening at the meeting.
To date, there's really been no absolute discussion, if you will, about the 2023. There was mention of a couple of projects, but there's been no decisions made. But because there's been no really work done on it, and two, didn't know what the makeup of the committee is. But there's plenty of opportunity to do that. But there's been no decision made by anybody on what the 2023 SPLOST projects would be. And again, we only meet quarterly, and typically the information would be, and I'll be glad to give this to you, simply progress updates on what the projects are, and I'll be glad to pass that on to you. But we really haven't made there's not been any substantive, I guess it might be a better way to put it, discussion about what projects where, what district, and all of that. But that will come. I mean, and again, that will be part of the responsibility of the individual appointee to represent their district or to move forward. And then the group as a whole, again, going back to what the process would be, then they would develop a list that would be forwarded on to you, a recommendation that would be forwarded on to you. And again, you all have the final say-so on that as to what you'd like to see.
So you don't provide the list? Because the last, my board member told me that you were at the meeting, you gave them the list of what they should look
What
at.
we had was the existing projects for the 2017 SPLOST, but there's been no list put together for 2021. I mean, I know I have expressed an opinion about what I thought that direction we ought to go. Fewer projects versus multiple projects because of some of the projects that we have that are so costly. And we're going to have a limited amount of dollars to go with it. But the only list that there was is a 2017 list. There's not one for 2023.
So when is the meeting, and this is my last question, the meeting time and where are you guys meeting? Because I know it's not publicized. So the community knows when to attend or.
We do publicize it. It is public meeting and people are.
Because I get all the notifications for the county. I get everything
for
for the county. I don't get any notification for SPLOST.
Okay, well, I don't know why you might not have gotten it, but we do publicize it because it's a public meeting. The next meeting, we'll be scheduling the next meeting once we have the results of whether or not you're going to keep your appointee or change your appointee.
Okay.
Once I know who we're going to be working with, and we'll schedule the next meeting.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
I'm not gonna prolong the time. I think 2017 SPLOST, if my memory serves me right, and I know Captain Banks, that we called him then the sheriff office, but I did not appoint Captain Banks to represent District 4, and I'm gonna call him tomorrow at a responsible time, and I'm gonna ask him how did he represent District 4, and where there was no conversation with me about that. And so the problem that I do have, and I guess I'm gonna just ask my friend, District 2 County Commissioner, do you know your representative? Yes. Did you appoint him? I did. Okay. Well, I was here a little bit longer than you were, and I had the opportunity to appoint my folks, and it just kind of get off the radar. And what happens is there's projects and stuff that be one-sided. And that's the reason why I made the comment, and I'm gonna just close it up now. Made the comment that I think that we are neglecting our job as a duly elected county commissioners and performing the service that we should do as an elected official for our citizens. Nobody knows this district better than we.
Yes, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to add, as Lloyd mentioned, whenever there's an appointee, they serve for the life of that SPLOST. So I wasn't here in 2017. So this person was appointed prior to me getting here in 2019. So I wasn't able to take this person off until now. But I have had a conversation with the District 2 appointment in great detail. I have shared with him my thoughts, what I felt that I would like to see in District 2 as far as projects for what the citizens have stated to me that they would like to see. So I have effectively communicated that directly to him. We've had great conversations in great length in regards to it. But if I was to decide at this particular point, before the next splash, if I decided that I didn't want this appointment, then this would be the time for me to be able to make that change. I wasn't able to make the change prior to now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So Lord, this, we're not taking an action tonight. We're just making sure the board know that they got the opportunity to reappoint someone if they need to, if they choose to represent them in the fashion they want to be represented in.
Yes, sir,
Correct.
that's correct. If they would like to appoint someone different to begin working on the 2023, if they would, if the board would, it's up to them to decide if they would like to keep the current representative or not. And then it would be for them to discuss that with their representative.
Thank you, sir. Item number 15, I'm gonna take a stab at this one. Madeline Roderick, bankruptcy plan.
As you all will recall, the county entered into a class action lawsuit regarding the opiate epidemic that has swept into the country. There is a bankruptcy plan in court for the family that owned Pfizer. Our council did send us notification of that. They also sent us notification that there was supposed to be a settlement today in an approval of the bankruptcy plan by the court. And I have not heard anything today as to what the distribution would be. My guess is that we will probably be looking at a very small amount of dollars. There are quite a few people involved in this class action suit. So I don't anticipate we're going to have any kind of a windfall, maybe a few $1,000s, but I don't know for certain what that will be. And once we get that, we'll send that on. I'll forward that information to you on what any settlement might be and when we might expect to get any kind of payment.
Thank you, sir. Item number 16, John Addison, donation agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a property owner or family, the Addison family, who lived in this county for a number of years. John Addison, Jr., who grew up right off of Brown Bridge Road, has decided that he would like to donate property to the county. It's a little over about 4.5 acres. This property is adjacent to 11 acres that we currently own, and that is a green space. And so what the intention would be to couple that green space along with the Addison property and to make a park out of it, whether it's partly for passive recreation, and there could be also partly for active sport, team sports type activity. We have not developed a plan or anything for it yet. But Mr. Addison is willing to donate the property. We have done an inspection of the property. We've had our phase 1 environmental done, so it is free and clear for us to be able to move to the next phase should the board decide to accept the property, and that is to close on the property where we simply would exchange, we would receive the deed to the property and so forth. Mr. Addison has requested and has some conditions on the property that he would like to see the property used for. His mother was a longtime teacher in the Newton County school system, Ms. Ruth Addison. Matter of fact, the chairman, I believe, went or was taught by her, taught reading by her. He has a very special interest in reading, and so there are some conditions here that I'll enumerate those for you. He would like the property to be named in honor of his parents, John and Ruth Addison Park. We are agreeing to commence construction there within 12 months, and that the park would be open to the public within 48 months of the date of the closing. He also is asking that a plaque be placed on the property with pictures and biographies of his mother and father, John Addison Sr. and Ruth Addison, and that information, of course, would be supplied, and the plaque and all supplied by him. And we've also agreed, this would also have us agree to involve Mr. Addison in the planning and development process for the park, and also which we would allow him to do so provided it was not unreasonable type access or unreasonable type demands. We've agreed, or we would agree to preserve as many of the pecan trees on the property as practical. And Mr. Addison would like to see the existing residents on the property used as a resource center, a youth resource center, or some other use, similar use that would help kids learn how to read and so forth, and that he would like that to be called the Ruth Addison Youth Center. We have done an inspection on the property. The building that is there is structurally sound, and it could be renovated for this type use. And so we would be able to do that. So the house would remain on the property. We would obviously need to remodel and bring it up to date for things like fire protection and all, particularly if it's going to be used as a gathering space. But those are the conditions that have been placed on the donation. Obviously, because of its tie-in with the existing park, it does give the county access to the property from Brown Bridge Road to the existing property that we have from Brown Bridge Road, as opposed to going through a subdivision. And so we do believe that it would be a valuable asset to the county, and particularly to the neighborhood in that area as well. So we're asking simply that the board accept this donation and approval to accept the donation of the property from Mr. Addison.
Commissioner Henderson. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This piece of property is located in District 4.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And I think we purchased this property about in 2000, I don't know, it would be before the chairman had came aboard, and we also had sat down with Mr. Allison. In a little history, I'll tell you a little history. Mr. Allison is Miss Linda Hayes' first cousin. And so we've had a conversation about how we might be developing. I think we also had one in the in our executive meeting room too as well. But make a long story short, what we had wanted for that property, what I said earlier, is that I wanted Commissioner Mason, I wanted Commissioner Sanders for us to maybe call, not all together, because if we did together, it'd be some type of legal meeting to see how we want it developed for the community. Because just across the street is District 3, and down the street is District 2. And so that's how you bring, I think, the community together. I also want to sit back down or call Mr. Allison and speak with him and confirm the what we had spoke about, and most of it is on the list that we talked about. And we had this discussion, Lord, I think in the office, your office. But make a long story short, so to give us that time, if Commissioner Mason, if Commissioner Sanders wanted to talk about how it's going to be developed, we could have input on it. I wanted to table it to give me an opportunity to call Mr. Allison. And I understand he was chairman. His wife was his teacher, first grade teacher. I think this may be my understanding. Is to talk to him and reconfirm exactly what we had spoke about then, and talk about it. And lastly, but in least, last thing, make it quick, Commissioner Powell, because you done told me you ready to go. Lastly, I don't think that we can have a whole lot of people working towards making that a great part. It's got to be led by the district commissioner. And so let me do what I've been doing before. I think most of you got here. And hopefully to make a great part too as well. So I'm asking it to be table until our next meeting and give Commissioner Sanderson and give us an opportunity to maybe talk and how we would like to see it being developed as a part for our community. And so having said that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to table at least for, what is it, next meeting when? Okay, 30 days, for 30 days.
Well,
Mr. Kerr.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do know that Mr. Addison wanted to have this property closed by, and we had talked about by the first meeting in October the 5th. And we need to, in order for us to go to closing on the property, obviously the board would have to vote to accept the property. So there is time is of the essence here. There he is on a schedule. And obviously we would like to have the donation. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention as well.
I just want to say this. Now, I have the deepest respect for everybody on this board. I'm the type of person, I'll tell you what I'll tell you. And so with this, I have not even been informed. I just was given a document and given to me. So here it is, and this is the way we're gonna do it. I personally think that's a disrespect for me. But, well, not exactly me, but the seat, 4th district seat. I think that's disrespect, first of all. And second of all, Mr. Allison's a great person. His mother was a great teacher from what I've heard. But it's got to be it's got to be some kind of mutual respect for us in here. And the first thing I would have done, had I been the county manager, I would have called me up on the phone and said, we have this, and you can't look at what you think your views are, rather than hand me a piece of paper just for me and just stamp it. I don't go out like that, and I'm not gonna start. So if tabling it is gonna offend anybody, I'm sorry. But that's what I asked. And it always can be denied because I'm only one board member. And it's only in my district. And I'm gonna end with this. We worked hands and foot with every district commissioner from that fire station over there to make sure that they was informed and everything. But when it comes to District 4, J.C. Henderson, it don't work that way. So I'm asking for the same respect that we give all the rest of these commissioners ran this horseshoe. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to point out, Commissioner, that you had been involved from the beginning. The only thing we're doing now is accepting the property. The discussions have not changed. There's been no plan made on the property. The only thing that we're doing now is getting to the point where we're accepting the property. He's aware, Mr. Addison is aware that there's, that you have a vested interest in the property, and it is in your district. But in order to effectuate the donation, there were certain things that he would like to see in that property. But beyond that, that's the only thing that we've done. There will be a plan that will be drawn up, but there were certain things that he would like to see
Chairman,
on the property. But I mean, it wasn't that this is not your first hearing of it, sir.
Yeah, here. You make a motion, you get a second, then you have discussion. Or the motion dies from a lag.
Commissioner Henderson, you just got through talking on your own motion. And so you're gonna tell me that you want me to make him be quiet when you just got through talking on your own motion? Oh, you made a motion and then you came back and you made comments while your motion was on the floor. So I'm gonna allow Mr. Kerr let Mr. Kerr make his comments, just like I let you make yours. Mr. Kerr, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I simply wanted to point out that this is not a new issue for you, Commissioner. You were aware of this from a long time. The only thing where we're doing now is moving to the next step. And you had met with us on site with Mr. Addison. We talked about several things.
Sure did.
But we're simply moving to
It
the
just took a
point where we
turn.
can accept it. I'm sorry, I do have a different recollection of things. You and I and the chairman were there.
So to be upfront and honest, the meetings that we had here with Mr. Addison, Commissioner, you was here. The meetings we had at Mr. Addison's house, Commissioner.
What did you tell me? You told me, you said that if I don't go along with what you said, that you and the other board member would take it away from me. And what did I say in that office in there? I said, well, for them, I am the person that is supposed to oversee this project.
Commissioner, I did not tell you that.
Yes, you did. Sheriff Brown was in there. Mr. Adams was in there.
So,
and they wouldn't lie.
The meetings that we was in, you was in. And you just said you went in no meetings. Now you saying you was in the meetings. I'm not changing around. I'm saying exactly what you said, sir. No, I'm not. I'm saying exactly what you said. There's a motion to table on the floor. Can I get a second, please? It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson to table this, and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? Commissioner Mason was first, and then Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Lloyd, tonight, this is basically just us going through the protocol to receive the actual donation. It's not to actually do any construction or any of that. So, if what happens if we table it, and Commissioner Henderson is able to go back, have a discussion with Mr. Addison. Is Mr. Addison willing to change what he actually wants with the actual donation? Or do you know that for sure?
I can't speak for him on everything. My understanding is that these conditions that he's placed on this were the things that he wanted. My understanding is that there have been a couple of delays during this whole process, and that he wanted to see this wrapped up. I don't know whether he would. I don't know what his reaction might be. Certainly, you can table it, and then Commissioner can contact him and see what his response would be.
But tonight is not.
I can't definitively. No, what you're doing tonight is accepting.
Right.
You are agreeing to accept the property with these conditions. That's really what you're doing right here.
You good?
I'm good.
Commissioner
Thank you, Mr.
Edwards.
Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Lloyd, if I understand you correctly, if we do not vote to accept this property tonight with said conditions, we run the risk of not getting this property, period.
I would hesitate to say yes, but I think could be a very likelihood based on up to this point, Mr. Addison's reaction and what his plan was to try to make this happen.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders.
Hearing about Mr. Addison and how gracious he is with zoning this property, I don't think he would remove the property that he wants to give to the county from, this is my belief and faith, that he will remove from giving the property to us if we allow the commissioner, because there have been many commissioners who said, I want to table this and get a chance to talk to constituents, and I want to talk to the people before I make a decision. So I believe in courtesy of a commissioner we've done for everybody else so graciously, he just asked for us to table it and come back in 30 days. And if there's an issue, we have another meeting coming up. It can always be changed. We've done that many times. So I don't think there is an issue because we've done it. Every commissioner has asked, can I have the opportunity to speak to my constituents or the individuals involved? So allow that commissioner to have do their due diligence.
Any more discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry, he got his hand up. Commissioner Cowell.
Just my perspective on it. And again, it's in the JC's district. I'm always reluctant if somebody's laying a donation out there to walk away from it or to extend time. Now, I understand they got nothing to do with Republican. It's just it's a matter of business. It's a matter of business. But he does have some legitimate concerns as far as whatever he wants to talk to. I've never met Mr. Addison. I don't know. But he's willing to run the risk of Mr. Addison withdrawing his donation. And if that's the case, that's something he'll have to live with. It won't be something we have to live with. So that's just where I'm at. I personally, I would take it with conditions that he may want to put in there. But it's up to Commissioner Henderson if he wants to roll the dice and assume that Mr. Addison will not withdraw it until he talks to him. That's fine with me too.
Commissioner Henderson. What you need to know is this: there's 11 acres of property. Yes, the few acres sit on the front side of it, but we were going to build a park on the 11 acres for that community, Brown Beach Road. Now, all I wanted to do, and since I'm one of the few commissioners, I can think of another commission that makes you jump through hoops just to have the opportunity to talk to somebody about something going in your district, is to talk to Mr. Allison. Just remember that that property been there for years and years. He came to me, J.C. Henderson, 4th District County Commissioner, and said, this is what we want to do with that house. It wasn't like I went to him or went to call him, because I was going to talk to the commission and building that park for the community on that 11 acres. That's where that fell into place. So what is 30 more days if you getting like what the Allison family, Mr. Allison wants, he's a good man. If you're gonna get what you want in 30 days talking with the district commission. They did it with Stan for the fire station and several others, but when it comes to J.C. Henderson, it's time sensitive. We don't want to have that discussion with him. So all in favor? The table. Again, all in favor of the table. It's table for 30 days. Thank you. Human resources and risk management of property and casualty insurance policy renewal, Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have Pam Maxwell, and who's our risk.
Guys, please
handles our risk
remember we're still in the open meeting, please.
And also, our broker, Scott Thompson, here is with us to answer, and I'm going to let them present that to you. And if you have questions, our broker is here also to help answer questions on this, on our end, the risk insurance.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? The request we have before you is to seek approval. Thank you, Scott. Is to seek approval for the renewal premium for our property and casualty insurance policy. Scott Thomason Gallagher, with Gallagher, Senior Vice President, is here with me tonight, along with my director, Amanda Shoemaker, to answer any questions that you may have in reference to our policy. Our property and casualty insurance lines of coverage include property, inland marine, automobile, general liability, public officials, liability, crime, cyber liability, and an umbrella policy. The property and casualty insurance premiums amount is based on several factors, which include carrier rates, exposures, and loss experience. The annual premium for 2021-2022 policy is in the amount of $888.50. $88,694.94. The item was budgeted for in the 2022 fiscal year, and this amount falls within our budgetary projection. Once again, we seek your approval for this October 1st insurance renewal with Travelers Insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, I seek a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve the proposal from Travelers Insurance.
Thank you. It's been motion by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? It passed 5-0. Thanks.
Thank you.
Board of Commissioners requesting approval of Amendment 1 for the Sunbelt construction for establishing the GMP design document and schedule for Aria Cousins Alumni Center. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the first amendment to our contract with Sunbelt Builders. This is a guaranteed maximum price of $82,790 for the RL for the renovations to RL Cousins as well as Washington Street. Oh no, I'm sorry. Pardon me. $82,790 is the guaranteed maximum price for the renovations that'll be done over at Cousins Center for the Cousins alumni. And these are renovations to the band room. And so then the total cost of the agreement then goes to $131,575. Mike McCrory is here with Sunbelt. If you've got some questions, he'll be glad to answer those for you. And we have another change order a little further down the agenda too. But Mike, if you want to come, if y'all have questions, you can.
Commissioners, y'all have any questions tonight? Commissioner Henderson.
Well, the first question that I have is that, well, I think we're talking about, excuse me, we're talking about the TK Adams old band room over at Cousins.
Yes, sir. It's the band. Yeah, that's correct.
And when we first met and we were talking about remodeling that old band room, what we talked about was, I think Miss Terry was there. Our friend Miss Terry, I can't think of that thing. But anyway, yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Miss Terry Jane, she was there. It's been a long night. She was there. She was there representing, and we were remodeling for the Afro-American Historical Society. It wasn't for the alumni, because we had previously met, Demond and I, over at the Minister Union, and Reverend Harold Cobb, who was the president of the Alumni Association, Aria Cousins Alumni Association. He said that he wanted a room in the building for the Alumni Association. So that's why I was asking, and I know y'all were redoing the band, redoing the old cafeteria, and there was some space somewhere that they wanted, I think Reverend Carver had said that they wanted to have in this particular building. And if I'm not mistaken, I had talked to our county attorney, Ms. Megan Morton, and she's supposed to have some notes. I won't call them minutes, but notes about how we were supposed to put it down. But nevertheless, I got all what is going to be named and who may be where. But there was something that he had told me. And if Demond remembers that I said, yes, sir, Mr. Cobb, we'll do what you asked, and we'll relay that back to the Board of Commissioners to provide a space within that particular building. Now, I'm just going to say this. I want the space wherever it is going to be at. And we know that the old TK Adams building is going to be nice. We know that Costa, they got a really nice room. They got really nice. And they've been tested for the black mold that's in the building. But we know over at the DMV, the ladies in there complain about the mold in their when they go, I guess in the room, waiting room, or sitting room, or bathroom for the employees. They complain about that. So we need to go over and get a certified certificate, because I'm really worried about the people who may be in there who are being exposed to that black mold. And it may not be a concern for some, but I think that they shouldn't be. And I think, in fact, I don't know whether they're staying over there to Clean and Beautiful and whoever else we got up in there. But what I do know is that we need a professional to come in and assess that whole building so we make sure that those people who are working there are safe. Because I asked them, said, have you been sick or anything? She said, and then one of them said, well, I don't know. But she said that we're gonna, if we do, we'll be sure to let you know. So that's what we need to do. And I'm working on a letter. I'm gonna get through. We got a long night to go. A letter to give to my fellow commissioners saying that what we are looking forward to having over there at OR Cousin, historic OR Cousin school. And we got some pretty good stuff. And the fields are in bad shape. We're still looking for some work to be done over in the gym that we had asked for to be an early voting place where you can stand and sit comfortably. And then we had looked for and asked for the storage room for our computers. Right now, we don't have no place to put them in a secure place, heat regulated, so that they can be in a secure place that'll last us a long time. So there's some of the stuff, and I'll have a complete list because I'm getting it typed out. I can't get Jackie to do it because Miss Jackie is sick. So, and I know that sometimes Sister Nolly, she has other duties other than just sitting around all day waiting on us. So we need to designate somebody, Lord, for myself and whoever else may need some help writing or printing out something. Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess this might be a question for Lloyd. Do we have a schematic or an actual build out of what this construction is going to look like? Because I know when we initially talked about it, we had the project manager come in last year, gave us a schematic, but then I think that we didn't continue on. And so I don't know if things have changed or if they're still the same.
We have not done a plan on the entire building, no, because that's a pretty massive plan.
Okay.
There is some drawings that were done for this particular for the band room there. But as far as the rest of the building, no, we haven't done drawings because of the size of the project, because we initially wanted to do everything all at one time, and probably would still be the wisest thing to do when we have the total money. I think the estimate to do all the construction over there was somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. And that's quite a bit of work that's done on all wings of the building, plus some much needed parking improvements and some drainage improvements over there as well.
So basically that's what this is going to help us with that design.
What this was my understanding that was for the Alumni Society or the Alumni Association, but that I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but that they were going to allow her to use it for whatever she needed to use it for, I guess, periodically. But the alumni group has offices in the main building, which when we purchased it, we would agree to allow them to continue to be there. So that was my understanding initially, that Commissioner Henderson wanted to have that space remodeled for them, but then later talked about the African American Heritage Society. And when we were all meeting over there that day, I got the understanding that it was to be the Alumni Center, and that the African American Heritage group could also use the building. So that's kind of where we were. And so we went ahead with doing the plans in order to renovate the building. Mostly it's cosmetic renovation with the exception, I think, of maybe a bathroom. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, basically the scope in this is going to the old band building, replacing the flooring, repainting the building, replacing all the ceiling tiles, upgrading the light fixtures to LED, adding some HVAC, because right now there's just a couple of through wall units. We'd actually put a split system in and air condition the rooms that are outside of the big room. If you've been in there, it has air, but the other ones do not.
That was all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Henderson. I just want to say, and you're almost right, Lord, with the exception of, have you ever went out and spoke to a group of people, and especially older people, a little bit older than me, and you said, well, this is what we think, and they tell you straight up, point blank, and I think Commissioner Mason was there at the ministry at that time, they tell you, but we don't want it. And I think you and Reverend Carl, but remember, serve me right, y'all walked outside and got ready to leave. And he's saying, this is what we want. So how you go and tell somebody that you're gonna be over here and share this with somebody else, or y'all share it together, and they don't want to do it? So I guess the next question that I asked is, how much did it cost to renovate that big old large space, and also including the cafeteria over at Cousin? How much did it cost to renovate that? Those two buildings, those cost of,
The cost to renovate the cafeteria?
yes.
I don't know. We'd have to take a look at it. We were looking at it just recently to see if the folks at Washington Street could temporarily house over there while we were doing that project. And it would be fairly expensive to go through and to renovate. I don't know. I'd hesitate to guess at how much it would cost, because it would depend on whether or not we would have, they need internet connections, and that's can be an expense. How to secure that section of the building, if that's the only section they'd be using. How, do they need classrooms? They'd have to have access to restrooms, and where they are, and then there's always the question of the HVAC systems over there. So we could probably get a ballpark number, but I don't know what the exact number would be.
Well, the only thing that I think I do know is that whoever doing the work, they wasn't doing it free. I know there's a dollar amount that is attached to that particular work. Now, only thing what I'm saying is this, is that there was part of what we had talked about, Megan and I, and she was putting the plans, we were supposed to put the plans together and actually do it. Now, when you are out and talking to a large group of people or several people, they're gonna come up. That's why you want to have those meetings. Say, come on out and let me ask you, and have somebody write in what they said, because sometimes it's subject to change, and they're looking at you. And it's easy for you because you can do it, and it's okay because you're not accountable. What is it, about 25,000 now people that each district commissioner have? And sometimes I think it's more than that for me, because I get called from all over the county. But and those are people that we are accountable to. At least I know I am.
I think we're all accountable for what we have to do.
I think if the next election, if they don't like me, I'm gonna be out of here. You could still be here. It only takes three commissioners, possibly a supermajority. Okay. Ms. Moore, I have a question for you, please, ma'am. Could Lloyd lose his job by a simple majority, or would that be a supermajority?
Guys, listen, we are on item number 18.
Supermajority. Okay, I was thinking that. So that's the question I'm saying. Is you're gonna have 4 people that you may have to be accountable to. I have 22,000. Sometimes they come over my house. No, that many at one time, but it'd be full, my yard. So,
Got it. Commissioner,
thank you.
You have any more questions on item number 18?
No.
Oh.
Where'd he go?
Wow. So, Lord, you looking for of approval, right?
Yes, sir, an approval for that guaranteed maximum price of $82,790.
Okay.
And this one, Commissioner, you made the motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. And this one, for Oracle in,
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Washington
that's
Street. Okay. They're both in my district.
Second.
Okay, hold it second while I make it first.
Okay, go make first.
I make a motion to approve that motion that Lloyd, had asked me to approve. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. All in favor? It passes 5-0. Finance Department requesting approval of finance budget transfer. Guys, let's take a recess. Let's take a recess.
They can run for them and drive the ball.
Yeah. Oh, boy. We got a long night, man. We still got a long night. Okay. I want to officially call this meeting back to order. Yeah. Finance Department, requesting approval of finance budget transfer. See Ms. Brittany is here tonight.
Good evening. Tonight before you, you have the final budget transfer of FY21. Usually the month of June stays open for 60 days, and we generally wait till we've went through the process before we do final budget amendments. We always try to make sure that all departments' bottom line budget is not over, therefore we don't have any write-ups in our audit. So there were 2 general fund departments that were over budget for FY21, and there was one that was the other financing uses, and then also fleet. So we're requesting to move $50,000 for other financing uses for $50,000 additional appropriation for Viewpoint, and we're also requesting $200,000 to be moved to fleet. They did have some unexpected fire truck repairs that they did not budget for, and we're moving that $4,028 from contingency for fiscal year changes, and we had $1.1 million left over in contingency for new positions, so we're requesting to move $245,972 from there. Are there any questions?
Any questions, guys? Any questions, guys? Commissioner Sanders.
Just real quick. So you said they're moving from personnel to somewhere else, so they're not going to need the personnel that
Well, that we're wrapped up with FY21. So essentially this is just moving money to make sure there's no bottom line. So these were positions that were not hired that were on the contingency list.
Okay. I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Fire Service, thank you, Brittany. Fire Service purchasing requesting approval of Amendment 1 for Sunbelt Builders for Fire Station number 4 to amend change orders 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you, Chairman. These change orders have a total of $91,763. And that would make the overall construction, the price of the agreement for the construction of the station to $2,743,918. The major portion of these change orders is for low voltage wiring and communications for the station. That was $47,000 of that $91,000 is for that particular work. So
thank you, sir. I seek a motion, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes 5-0. Public Works requesting approval to purchase 48 pallets of calcium chloride flakes. Mr. Kerr.
Thank you. Chester Clegg is here, our transportation engineer. Going to address any questions you have on this, but I believe this is for our winter supply. Is that right,
yes,
Chester?
Lloyd. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're out of calcium chloride, and we use it for treating the dirt roads for dust. We'll spread it out and then water it down, and it keeps the dust down pretty well. And then we also need it for the de-icing for this winter.
Thank you, sir.
It's fairly expensive, but it's very much needed.
Thank you, sir. Guys, I seek a motion, please. Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion, Commissioner Henderson?
Yes. Mr. Chester, you said it's very expensive. How much does it cost a ton or whatever? How much does it cost?
Well, we're ordering it by the bag and pallet, so we're getting 48 pallets. I think it's 50 bags per pallet, I believe. So it's $30,000 for the lot.
Any more discussion? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. This is I know this stuff is used quite a bit in my district, so it's very, very useful. I've seen the effects of it. It can, especially in this COVID environment with breathing issues, some of the people that in my district that live on dirt roads in any district, basically, I know there's a lot of them in 5 too. So that's very helpful for those people. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any more? All in favor? Passes 5-0, thanks. Public Works requesting authorization of the chairman to execute a project agreement with GDOT for the preliminary engineering on the bridge replacement at Dow Mill at Little Haynes Creek, Chester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are proposing to start a new project to replace the bridge at Dow Mill Road at Little Haynes Creek. It's at the Rockdale County line at High Tower Trail, I believe. And the first part of the process, we got federal funding allocated for it, for the engineering for the project. So the board, there's a project framework agreement called the PFA that has to be signed and approved by the board. And that's an agreement between GDOT and the county commissioners.
Commissioner Sam. Commissioner Sam. All right. 22. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any more discussion? All in favor? I'm sorry. Ms. Kerr, you have something?
No, sir. I'm sorry. No, I'm fine.
Okay. It passes 5-0. Thanks.
Thank you, Judge.
You want to do one thing? Okay. Okay. Consideration of proposed annexation of parcel 83-4B on Eagle Drive by the city of Covington. Ms. Martin.
As you all are probably aware, the city of Covington has advised the county of its intent to annex 5.474 acres of property located on Eagle Drive. The tax parcel is specifically 0083004B. This is adjacent to the McDonald's, if you're familiar with where that property is. We've reviewed the full application, reviewed to see if all I's were dotted as far as timing, whether or not there was an issue of contiguity, and whether or not we had any argument about an unincorporated island. At this time, we feel that this annexation is not one that we would be successful trying to fight, because there are no errors in those only defenses that we would have to this annexation.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Cowell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion to approve the proposed annexation of parcel 83-4B on Eagle Drive by the city of Covington.
Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowell and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? Commissioner Edwards.
Do we know the intent of the use of the property?
Check.
I do know this. I do know it's a commercial site, and I think it's just recently been sold.
The proposed use is for mixed-use commercial, office, and restaurants, most likely. That's what's been stated in that their application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just glad it's not more apartments.
No.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Next is item number 24, alcohol license reading. The final reading, Valero 14625 LLC, owner Shaheen Quick at Inc. 4625 Highway 36. Applicant Shahai Galani. That is District 36. I think that's District I'm sorry. I think that's District 5. Mr. Valero. No, I'm sorry, that's Commissioner Henderson. Yeah, that's Commissioner Henderson. Yeah, that's JC. Can I get a second, please? Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. This is opportunity we allow citizens to come up to make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so. If you would, please come up and state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening, Board of Commissioners. After sitting here with you tonight, I have greater respect for what you do. Thank you. My name is Vivian Van Dale. I'm at 250 Crestfield Circle. I am a new member of the board of the Fairview Estates Homeowners Association. There are over 200 homes in our community. We have recently had the flock cameras installed in our community. We're pretty psyched about that. We have just revived our neighborhood watch in our community as well. And we're in progress of curbing the speeding in our community by going through the process of getting speed bumps, so that because there's a lot of speeding that comes through our community. All of these efforts are curbing the crime, which has increased significantly in our community. There is one huge problem that promises to undermine all of our efforts. At 310 Crestfield Circle sits Fairview Community Park. The only way for the public to access this park is to come through our community. The Fairview Community Park belongs to Newton County. Therefore, our hands are tied and limited to all the criminal activities and maintenance of the park. We are left at the mercy of only calling the Newton County Sheriff's Department to help when we see certain activities, and thank goodness they've been responsive to the best of their abilities. Here are some things that have happened in the park, some on a daily basis, and I just bulleted them. Prostitution, daily, that's from non-residents, that's people coming into the park. Drug dealing, daily, again, non-residents. Gang activity. There was a graffiti incident, which the park was very responsive to. They came and removed it. It's still visible, but the parks came out and did a wonderful job. Outside of the park in our community, because of the influx of people coming in our community, there's been car vandalisms and break-ins from non-residents. There's been shootings, one that took place while children were playing in the park and people were walking their dogs, etc. There have been fights. Another incident happened was a car with someone high on drugs speeding out of the park, ran into a homeowner's house across the street from the park over the summer. Their house is yet to be repaired, waiting for insurance from the outside party. Residents of the community are afraid to live in their own homes because of the outside traffic and influx of people who are coming into our community. At the neighborhood watch meeting that we had on the 15th, here are some things that were presented to the deputies. That was also the Sheriff Brown was there as well. And this is in order to curb the crime in the community along with the efforts and strides we have made. Install lighting in the park. Install cameras in the park. Have more police presence in the park, especially at night, throughout the night and early morning whenever it's dark. Setting up other entrances where non-residents can enter the park without having to enter through the community. This one is really huge. Picking up trash and emptying trash cans more often. Maintaining the front entrance flower beds. Maintaining the law.
Ma'am, I know this is your first time here tonight, and I know this is maybe new to you.
My 3 minutes?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes.
Okay.
It's a 3 minutes limit, but I'm in hopes that you would wait after we get done, and we would love to speak with you for a few minutes to hear your concerns.
Okay.
All right,
It's not a lot more. Okay, I will.
Okay, thank you so much. All right.
My name is Johnny Stone. I live at 500 Cochran Road. I've lived in this county for about 20 years. I've never sent a kid to school in this county. but I have paid school taxes for 20 years. I'm 76 years old, and this tax is only charged in a handful of counties. I'm well aware that the school board has the final say on this, but I also know the county holds great sway over the school board. And I'm asking you people to have seniors that are 70 years old not to pay school tax. We've paid it all our lives. And I want you to go home and think of this one simple thing, is that when you lose your spouse, your income cuts in half, but your school taxes keep going up, even though you've paid school taxes for 50 years or more. And I am asking the county to show good faith that you do care about the seniors in this county by removing the lie from this Newton County tax assessors. You used the word may to cover the lie. There is nothing on this paper with seniors 65 years of age or older claim a $30,000 deduction. That's it. The rest of that lie under there needs to be taken off, because that's all you get in this county. And the one for individuals 62 years of age and older may claim, that may claim is a lie. It's just a cover-up lie. That whole paragraph should be taken out. The only thing that should be on here is one. That the school allows you the same thing the county does. Individuals should read individuals since the retirement age went up to 70. Is that individuals 70 years of age or over may claim a $30,000 deduction with the county. And the second line should say individuals 70 years of age or older can claim a $30,000 deduction. Take the lie off this paper. If you take the lie off the paper, the people in this county, including y'all are going to be just like I am in 10 or 15 years. Or your neighbors, that if you take the lie off of this paper, then the people will start looking to the school board and see that they are the ones that are keep taxing seniors, because y'all play catch-22. 3 years ago, I was promised by this county that they was working with the school board to address the problem of seniors.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Commissioner Edwards. Commissioner Mason. Commissioner Sanders.
Just quickly, the young lady who just came up, Lord, we were approved for lights in Fairview Estates from Snap and Shows in March. So what's going on with that?
To be honest with you, I'm not really sure. There was a delay in the being able to get the fixtures, but it's back on track now. Snapping Shoals has indicated, yeah, they're ready. They've already done all of the prep work and the engineering work they needed to do to lay them out. So I didn't have a chance to ask Dwayne tonight about it. Somebody else asked me about the lighting about why it hadn't been put up yet, but so I'll try to find out for you. The other thing too is the new playground equipment and all that's supposed to be put in place, and the exercise equipment. But I'll find out about the lights, because it is taking an unusually long period of time to get those, because that's typically they're a lot quicker than that.
Okay.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to just take a brief opportunity just to apologize to a lot of citizens in Newton County. The American Rescue Funds, $10 million sits in the bank, and yet people are still being put out those, still behind on their rent and mortgage and stuff. And we haven't even the state gave us a paper saying that they're trying to help folks as many as they can, and yet we do nothing. All we doing is paying a consultant to tell us I don't know what. It's time for us to speak up, stand up for our citizens, and give them the help they most deserve. The money that came down from the federal government to help our people, and yet we do nothing. And I'm apologizing to you. I'm apologizing to you because of the simple fact is we should do better. Commissioner Cowan.
You good? Thanks. Guys, first of all, let me just say, I want to thank the DCA for being here tonight in the efforts to bring some assistance to the citizens that may have fell behind in their rent. You know, and I'm in hopes that they are going to come back again to help again when they hire a coordinator, which will be hopefully this week. So we're excited about that. Also, there's a need for an executive session tonight, personnel and potential land sale. I seek a motion that we move into executive session. I think that was Commissioner Sanders, and second, Commissioner Mason. All in favor? We're in executive session. Thank you.